Yeah, man.
That's hot shit right there, man.
So what we gonna do? We gonna dub.
News networks are not even getting clicks like that. So this shows like there's an opportunity for this, what we're doing here on this show.
Look up something in back check, kind of like cross reference.
Yeah, I should put the.
You say you look that shit up. That's the name of your show.
Yeah,
that's right. What really drew me in.
Remember, we want you to be an activist, and don't take our word for it. Look that shit up. Holy.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Yep. EUX. I'm dyslexic. The King Chuck ENTDEUX. That's the backup page. Please check us out there. Help us out a lot. You know, like, share, and subscribe. And hope I don't get in trouble for playing that last video. I probably shouldn't have played that shit. I'm always testing the damn waters, bro. That shit gonna get me.
You are now.
This is copyright.gov, U.S. Copyright Office. More information on fair use. Fair use is a legal doctrine that promotes freedom of expression by permitting the unlicensed use of copyright-protected works in certain circumstances. Section 107 of the Copyright Act provides the statutory framework for determining whether something is a fair use and identifies certain types of uses such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research as examples of activities that may qualify as fair use. Section 107 calls for consideration of the following 4 factors in evaluating a question of fair use: purpose and character of the use, including whether the use of the commercial nature or is for nonprofit educational purposes, nature of the copyrighted work, amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. Okay, so anything I use for you guys, hit me up if you want me to remove it, edit it, or whatever. Nothing is used to infringe on anybody's intellectual property. I don't intend on doing that, and I don't intend on profiting from anyone's intellectual property. So I'm glad to edit or delete anything that's any of my videos that I've used of anybody. So that's it.
Who and what are we gonna complain about tonight?
You are now.
What are you thinking about? Rolling a blunt? Taking a pee break? What are you doing?
Can be balanced with an individual's right to privacy.
This week on Q&A, author and former New York Times correspondent Stephen Kinzer discusses his new book titled The Brothers, John Foster Dulles, Allen Dulles, and Their Secret World War.
Stephen Kinzer, in your book, The Brothers, John Foster Dulles and Allen Dulles, you tell a story up front about Dulles Airport in Washington and the statue and the naming. What is that?
John Foster Dulles had recently died when that super airport out in Chantilly, Virginia was being built. And President Eisenhower immediately announced that the airport would be named Dulles Airport. For a while, when Kennedy took over, he didn't want to name it after a crusty old Cold Warrior, but there was pushback from others, and finally the decision was made to name it after Dulles. You can still see the film clip of Kennedy opening the airport with Eisenhower there and Allen Dulles there, and he pulls back a curtain, and behind the curtain is this giant bust of John Foster Dulles. And that bust stands in the middle of this big airport. So I went to see it while I was writing this book, and I couldn't find it. I started asking the security guards, where's the big bust of Dulles? Nobody had ever even heard of it. It was a long process, and finally, thanks to the Washington Airports Authority, I was able to discover that the bust had been taken away from its place in the middle of the airport, and it's now in a closed conference room opposite baggage claim number 3. And I find this a wonderful metaphor for how the Dulles brothers, who at one time exercised earth-shattering power and were able to make and break governments, have now been effectively forgotten and airbrushed out of our entire history.
Who was Allen Dulles and who was John Foster Dulles?
These two brothers were about the most extraordinary pair of siblings to emerge in American history, at least up to that point. They grew up in an atmosphere of religious piety. They grew up in a parsonage and were deeply influenced by the ideals of missionary Calvinism, the idea that the world's divided between good and evil, and that Christians have to go out into the world and transform the evil into good. It's a very short step from that religious view to take it into politics and believe that politically the world is divided between good regimes and evil regimes, and that it's the duty of the good regimes, that's us, to go out in the world and destroy the evil ones. So that's an important part of the Dulles brothers' formation. And the other big influence on them, I think, was the decades that they spent as corporate lawyers working for this very important law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell in New York. That was not a law firm that you went to if you needed a contract drawn up or if you needed to be represented in a courtroom. Sullivan and Cromwell had a specialty, and that was pressuring small and weak countries to accept the demands of big American corporations. And that was what Allen Dulles and Foster Dulles devoted their lives to doing. So in their own minds, the interests of the United States and the interests of big American multinational corporations became the same thing. So they came into office, one as Secretary of State and the younger brother as director of the CIA, with these two influences, this religious view of the world being divided between good and evil, and many years of working for corporations that shaped their view of how American foreign policy should work.
When was John Foster Dulles Secretary of State?
Both of them came to power at the same time. They were sworn in immediately after President Eisenhower took office in 1953. It was the only time in American history that siblings have controlled the overt and the covert sides of foreign policy.
You have a second part of your book about 6 monsters, and I've got the pictures here, and I'm going to point out the first one is Mossadegh. If I could get a brief synopsis from you about who they are, we can get into the substance of this.
In 1821, John Quincy Adams made a famous speech on the 4th of July, and he said, "America does not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy." But the Dulles brothers did. They were carrying out a secret world war, even at a time in the 1950s when we thought we were at peace. And they went after 6 monsters, 6 figures that they found evil in the world, one right after the other. The first in 1953 was Prime Minister Mossadegh of Iran, who they overthrew in August of that year. The next year, 1954, they overthrew President Arbenz in Guatemala. The next year, they launched an operation against Ho Chi Minh that failed miserably and actually was the operation that dragged the United States into the Vietnam War. Then they went after Sukarno, the president of Indonesia, and fomented a civil war there. They went after Patrice Lumumba, the elected prime minister of the Congo right after independence in 1960. And their last monster was Fidel Castro, who also survived their attempts to depose him.
Where were they born?
The Dulles brothers were born and grew up in Watertown, New York. Actually, Foster Dulles was born in Washington briefly because the mother came here to live with her father for a few months. Her father had been Secretary of State, owned a big house near DuPont Circle. But Watertown, New York, on the shores of Lake Ontario, was kind of a playground for the New York rich. The father was actually not a plutocrat. He was a clergyman. But the family was extraordinary. So these two brothers, as young kids, grew up in a religious environment. They said their prayers every day. In the morning, they would take a cold shower, only kind their father would allow, say their prayers, sing a few hymns, and then they were free to run down to the shores of Lake Ontario, where their two distinguished and doting relatives were waiting to take them out fishing. And those two relatives were both secretaries of state. Their grandfather, John Watson Foster, had been Secretary of State in the 1890s, and he was actually the first Secretary of State to preside over the overthrow of a foreign government. That was the government of Hawaii. So actually, the Dulles family got into the regime change business even before the Dulles brothers were born. And their uncle, Robert Lansing, was Secretary of State during World War I. So they grew up in this very elite environment. As young boys, they were brought to Washington to stay at grandfather Foster's mansion, and they were having dinner with Grover Cleveland and Woodrow Wilson and Andrew Carnegie and Bernard Baruch and William Howard Taft. As children, they were able to absorb not just the ideas of the American elite, but their style, the perception, the way this elite looked at the world. This is why I see them as kind of vessels of American history. Imagine their grandfather, John Watson Foster, campaigned for Abraham Lincoln, and they, in office, projected American power all over the world during the nuclear age.
Why did you get interested in them and when?
I wrote a book years ago called Bitter Fruit about how the United States overthrew the Arbenz government in Guatemala. The Dulles brothers played key roles in that overthrow. Years later, I wrote another book called All the Shah's Men about how the United States overthrew the government of Iran. The Dulles brothers were also players in a very important way in that operation. I became more and more interested as I began to realize how central the Dulles brothers are, not were. In the 1950s, probably every literate human being in the world knew the name Dulles. But now when we look around the world, we really are still seeing the results of the Dulles brothers' policies. Look at the tragedy that unfolded in Guatemala with 200,000 dead in a civil war and Guatemala sliding toward failed narco state status. Look at what we've seen in Iran. 50, 60 years of tyranny, first under a Shah, then under religious fundamentalists. All of that started with the Dulles brothers. Look what's happened in the Congo. You have had literally millions killed there in the last decade or two. It was the Dulles brothers who first intervened to promote the overthrow and execution of the first elected leader of the Congo. The Vietnam War was principally the product of John Foster Dulles' determination not to go along with the French and British and say, well, Ho Chi Minh won the war, there's nothing we can do, but he decided to go and fight. So when you look around the world, you see today the results of the Dulles brothers' interventions. We've now forgotten them, and I'm trying to bring them back to life and show how not only they were central to shaping the world we now know, but how they reflect many deep impulses in the American psyche and the American body politic.
We have some video from 1952 to be able to see what John Foster Dulles looked and sounded like.
Are we stronger this year as against Russia than we were last year?
I think probably not. It's pretty hard to judge those things, but my estimate would be that the tide is still running against us. Everywhere I look around the world, the question is, what maybe we're going to lose next, you know, and we seem to be on the defensive and that they're on the offensive.
The question is, what are we going to lose each year more than what are we going to gain?
You can look around the whole circle of the world and you find one spot after another, after another, after another, where the question is, are we going to lose this bit of the free world? Is it going to be Iran, or is it going to be Egypt, or is it going to be Indochina, or is it going to be Korea, or what's it going to be?
You go back to his beginning, and you talked about elite schools and all that. Where did he go early in his life to school?
His mother didn't think public schools were good enough for him, so they engaged a number of private tutors, and then he went on to Princeton and was quite an outstanding student there. His brother also went to Princeton, but they, although developed a totally united view of the world, they always saw the world in the exact same way, politically and ideologically. They were perfect twins. But in their personalities, they were totally different. Foster Dulles, as you can see from that clip, was very dour, very unfriendly, very off-putting. I read in one book, even his friends didn't like him. Alan Dulles was exactly the opposite. He was a sparkling conversationist.
Let me interrupt just to show you some video of Alan Dulles. So people, and by the way, they're not twins. What was the difference in their ages?
Exactly. They were 5 years apart. They were twins politically and ideologically, but not biologically.
Who was older?
Foster Dulles was the older.
Let's look at Alan Dulles for a moment so we can continue.
There are times when the United States government feels that the developments in another government, such as in the Vietnam situation, is of a nature to imperil the safety and the security and the peace of the world, and ask the Central Intelligence Agency to be its agent in that particular situation. At no time has the CIA engaged in any political activity or any intelligence activity that was not approved at the highest level.
He was interviewed by John Chancellor of NBC and from a program called The Science of Spying, a documentary. What was Alan Dulles like compared to his brother?
He was a sparkling conversationist, had endless stock of stories, loved great wine. He was a inveterate adulterer. He probably had 100 affairs, from Claire Booth Luce to the Queen of Greece. And he was very seductive also for Americans. I think in Washington, he seemed like such a nice guy that you got the feeling that maybe he couldn't be doing anything so bad. He was not only the head of the invisible government, he was the ambassador of the invisible government to the visible government. Now, he was absolutely correct when he said that CIA operations were all approved at the highest levels, meaning by President Eisenhower. But there's another piece of this. When you saw John Foster Dulles in that clip lamenting about the world being slipping away from the United States and falling away from freedom, the fact is, right while he was making that clip in 1953, Stalin had just died, and the new leaders in the Kremlin wanted to have a summit of their new leaders with the Western allies. And Winston Churchill thought this was a great idea. The Prime Minister of France wanted to do it. Try to negotiate with the Soviets and see if we could manage our competition. Foster Dulles was absolutely opposed. He was against all contact with any government that we didn't like. So when he describes the world as being in complete confrontation, he omits the fact that he was one of the principal figures who intensified and maintained that confrontation.
The women in their lives, you do cite when they met the women that they married and how quick, I mean, they made decisions rather quickly. Explain for both of them.
Actually, their wives reflected the differences between them. The woman that John Foster Dulles married had dated Alan Dulles a couple of times, but Alan Dulles found her very staid and boring, so he quickly moved on. But staid and boring was just what Foster Dulles liked. So Janet Avery, the woman that John Foster Dulles married, was with him his whole life. I'm sure both of them were completely faithful. And Janet was really his only friend. He would spend his evenings at home and they would play bridge, or he would read a detective novel while she knitted. That was the extent of their wildness. But Alan Dulles married a very interesting woman. She had a lot of emotional and psychological problems, some of them no doubt the result of a very unfeeling and unpleasant husband, since the husband made no secret of his adulteries. But she became very interested in causes like prison reform. And I think she began feeling uncomfortable in the relationship. They never actually divorced, although they talked about it a number of times. But by the time Allen Dulles was head of the CIA, they were effectively living separate lives.
Why would Allen Dulles write his wife and tell her about his
Okay. The wife stuff is whatever, but this beginning part, y'all probably didn't hear. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Because I played it at the very beginning, and the important stuff is here. Let me play this again, this little beginning part, and then we're gonna chop it up.
Can be balanced with an individual.
Dulles Airport.
And the statue and the naming. What is that?
John Foster Dulles had recently died when that super airport out in Chantilly, Virginia was being built. And President Eisenhower immediately announced that the airport would be named Dulles Airport. For a while, when Kennedy took over, he didn't want to name it after a crusty old Cold Warrior, but there was pushback from others, and finally the decision was made to name it after Dulles. You can still see the film clip of Kennedy opening the airport with Eisenhower there and Allen Dulles there, and he pulls back a curtain, and behind the curtain is this giant bust of John Foster Dulles. And that bust stands in the middle of this big airport. So I went to see it while I was writing this book, and I couldn't find it. I started asking the security guards, where's the big bust of Dulles? Nobody had ever even heard of it. It was a long process, and finally, thanks to the Washington Airports Authority, I was able to discover that the bust had been taken away from its place in the middle of the airport, and it's now in a closed conference room opposite baggage claim number 3. And I find this a wonderful metaphor for how the Dulles brothers, who at one time exercised earth-shattering power and were able to make and break governments, have now been effectively forgotten and airbrushed out of our entire history.
Who was Allen Dulles and who was John Foster Dulles?
These two brothers were about the most extraordinary pair of siblings to emerge in American history, at least up to that point. They grew up in an atmosphere of religious piety. They grew up in a parsonage and were deeply influenced by the ideals of missionary Calvinism, the idea that the world's divided between good and evil, and that Christians have to go out into the world and transform the evil into good. It's a very short step from that religious view to take it into politics and believe that politically the world is divided between good regimes and evil regimes, and that it's the duty of the good regimes, that's us, to go out in the world and destroy the evil ones. So
does that sound familiar to y'all? I want this, all of this should sound familiar. That's the point. At this beginning part, I'm gonna play a little bit more, but the point is it all should sound familiar. And it's really important to know their history. That's the reason why we get where we are today. So these guys set this shit up, and this is the same exact thing that's happening now. So that's the point.
So that's an important part of the Dulles brothers' formation. And the other big influence on them, I think, was the decades that they spent as corporate lawyers working for this very important law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell in New York. That was not a law firm that you went to if you needed a contract drawn up or if you needed to be represented in a courtroom. Sullivan and Cromwell had a specialty, and that was pressuring small and weak countries to accept the demands of big American corporations. And that was what Allen Dulles and Foster Dulles devoted their lives to doing. So in their own minds, the interests of the United States and the interests of big American multinational corporations became the same thing.
The interests of the multinational corporations. What did he say? Hold on, I don't want to misquote him.
Aids that they spent as corporate lawyers working for this very important law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell in New York. That was not a law firm that you went to if you needed a contract drawn up or if you needed to be represented in a courtroom. Sullivan and Cromwell had a specialty, and that was pressuring small and weak countries to accept the demands of big American corporations. And that was what Allen Dulles and Foster Dulles devoted their lives to doing. So in their own minds, the interests of the United States and the interests of big American multinational corporations became the same thing.
okay, the interests of the United States and the interests of American multinational corporations became the same thing. So we was talking about in one of the other shows about how, like, the CIA and the way that they act, and then they have like a covert actions that they do around the world and the coups and stuff. And then it's like, it's because of the perception of America. They want people to think in a certain way. They don't want people to know that they're doing this stuff kind of like shady or whatever. So that's the reason why they have this overt and then this covert and this like they have this controlled opposition and opposition. And you know what I'm saying? That's it right there. That's the dynamic, the Coke and Pepsi, it's totally set up for you. You know what I'm saying? No matter which one you choose, they win. They gave you the options. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like these guys are important in a lot of ways. And it's also one thing I want y'all to focus on is the idea of like how, it's this I don't know, like America, United States, like we have our, how they say American darling or American sweetheart, you know what I mean? And I use that term a lot. Like people that, the American public likes, like they're popular or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So you have this idea where you have this popular rich guy who who's smart, and we should go with whatever he's talking about, man. I like that guy. You know what I mean? That's what these guys are right here. So let me play some more.
So they came into office, one as Secretary of State and the younger brother as director of the CIA, with these two influences, this religious view.
Secretary of State. One brother is Secretary of State. The other one is the head of the CIA. At the same time, these are two brothers.
Yeah. But that's the narrative. That's the narrative that they push, man. Like we see it. We're seeing it now. They pick and choose who's bad. They pick and choose who's good. They pick and choose who we aid or help. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think. That's why today you have more and more people, younger generations that are moving away from the Bible and church within itself, and have come to believe that these are things that are innately instilled in us because of these systems that they have put in place. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all about what the US deems to be right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to the conversation that we was having last night about what's right and what's wrong, what the court of public opinion think is right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? But people don't understand that there's no good or bad, that everything is a perception. Good or bad is a perception of what you believe is bad or good. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. I want to play a little bit more because he said some really significant stuff at the beginning of this.
Of the world being divided between good and evil, and many years of working for corporations that shaped their view of how American foreign policy should work.
When was John Foster Dulles Secretary of State?
Both of them came to power at the same time. They were sworn in immediately after President Eisenhower took office in 1953. It was the only time in American history that siblings have controlled the overt and the covert sides of foreign policy.
You have a second part of your book about six monsters, and I've got the pictures here, and I'm going to point out the first one is Mossadegh. If I could get a brief synopsis from you about who they are, we can get into the substance of this.
In 1821, John Quincy Adams made a famous speech on the 4th of July, and he said, "America does not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy." But the Dulles brothers did. They were carrying out a secret world war, even at a time in the 1950s when we thought we were at peace. And they went after six monsters, six figures that they found evil in the world, one right after the other. The first in 1953 was Prime Minister Mossadegh of Iran, who they overthrew in August of that year. The next year, 1954, they overthrew President Arbenz in Guatemala. The next year, they launched an operation against Ho Chi Minh that failed miserably and actually was the operation that dragged the United States into the Vietnam War. Then they went after Sukarno, the president of Indonesia, and fomented a civil war there. They went after Patrice Lumumba, the elected prime minister of the Congo right after independence in 1960. And their last monster was Fidel Castro, who also survived their attempts to depose him.
Do y'all see this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna exit out of that, but because it's painful to me that this is the idea of Batman saving the world. Because if Batman feels like he want to save the world, then maybe he feels like Patrice Lumumba is the bad guy. And this Batman has power and connections. He know people. He has a position. So in the public, Batman is a regular Joe Blow, and he's like Secretary of State. And oh no, I wouldn't do these things. You know,
That's exactly what's taking place against Russia.
I wouldn't kill Patrice Lumumba. But then after he clocks out from Secretary of State, puts his mask on, now he's Batman, and he goes do the assassination himself with his power and connections.
Yeah.
Because he feels like Patrice Lumumba
It's
is the
what's
bad
taking place
guy.
with this war right now. I feel like this very tale is what's taking place right now with the war against Russia against Ukraine. You know, and the
And
way that
not
they
just
keep
that, but
trying
more.
to. Yeah, I mean, it's even more than that. You know, look at what they did to the U.S. Made it seem like Gaddafi was this bad person when he was trying to basically get Libya back to its own independence by setting the gold standard. You know, and what did they do? Obama allowed for them to go in there and kill them. You know, and now look at their country. Now look at Libya. People are being basically, they're basically being recruited to be killed for their organs on the black market. You know what I'm saying? All of these other places. Look at what's taking place in the Congo right now. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like the U.S. is not good, bro. Like they have this. They paint this picture, and the biggest this is what's driving me more and more to get back to my own business where I work by myself because I work around and I'm not trying to sound racist because I'm not. I grew up in a home with a white father, so I'm not racist, but I'm around these uneducated redneck ass dudes, bro, and just the topics and the shit that I hear them saying, it makes like it infuriates me. Like I'm so angry because it's like you guys don't even know what you're talking about. You know, you're following along this narrative, and then in the same sentence, you sit here and you say that you're not racist, but you sound very racist. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Like you sound very racist, bro. Like, so tell me whether or not you're racist or not. Like, I'd rather know, like, hey, are you racist or are you not? You know, like you're following along with this narrative, you're pushing hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you're speaking against the southern border, you're speaking against what's happening and Rush, you know, with the Ukrainians, and you know, you're pushing this narrative that Putin is this bad guy, but you're not pushing the fact that Putin is only there because of what, you know, the Western world was trying to do, infringe upon his territories. You know, you're not speaking the fact of that there's Nazis over there that were killing women and children at an all-time rate. Anybody that spoke against them, but now Putin is bad because he bombed a hospital where there were Nazis hiding and women and children died. You know, now he's this bad guy and he should be beheaded and this and that. Like, come on, dude. Like, you know, if we're gonna say that, then we need to say the same about our last three presidents before Trump.
They are not gonna tell you they hate you, bro. They
Like,
gonna they gonna tell you, I love you, man.
yeah, I love you, brother. I don't see color. When you say I don't see color, to me, you're a fucking racist because you have to see color to acknowledge me as a being. All that I don't see color crap, like, or I have my best friend is black. Come on, dude. I can say my best friend is white. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real.
How's everybody doing tonight, man?
Hey, how you doing, bro? I didn't do my
Good.
slogan either. Like, thank y'all for listening. Remember, we want you to be an activist. Don't take our word for it. Look that shit up.
Look that shit up.
Look that shit up. Real talk. I'm good, Pat. I made it back to the house, man. I'm sitting here drinking on my Love Street, this beer that I found from a microbrewery here in Houston that I like, and I'm kind of spiking it with double shots of tequila.
Whoa.
So I'm chilling. I'm good. But yeah, now it's just crazy, bro. The society that we live in and how, you know, this society get to pick and choose what's right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? What's good, what's evil. It's like, and from what it seems like just in my short-lived life, everything that was meant to be good, this government or these policies have turned it to be evil. You know what I'm saying? People that's trying to help the homeless on the streets of Houston and other states around, like they treat them as like they're like these evil angelical people, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you need a permit to feed the homeless. What the fuck? Why do I need a permit to feed somebody that's clearly starving, that's dying, got frostbite on their fingertips and their lips and shit, and I'm giving them a blanket and a sleeping bag. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to give them a tent to be, you know, somewhat out of the elements. Why do I need a permit for that? To me, you look evil. You
Um,
know, nobody talks about how Las Vegas goes through every week and they do what they call a homeless wash or a homeless sweep, where they go through with fire trucks with these freaking high psi water hoses, and they spray the sidewalks where the homeless people are laying there or not. They spray them. That water is hard enough to break skin, bro. Nobody talks about that. That's evil.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't like a lot of them, especially in the high places of our government, have not had a real moral compass. I mean, the main thing that they've tried to do was to, you know, like they wanted to own what we owned, what's ours. They wanted to steal. They lied, cheated, stole, um, passed you diseases that was gonna kill you knowingly and maybe some unknowingly. But I mean, if we ever expect that these people, at some point got a heart,
Yeah.
and they're just gonna just all of a sudden do right, like everything that they've done good for people, we had to fight for it. Like they didn't just say, you know what, guys, here's your civil rights.
Yeah.
Here, guys, you know, just you know what, you should be free. Like I don't know, like I don't think
They
that I don't think we should be foolish enough to think that they're just gonna one day just say, hey guys, uh, here's for everything that we've done wrong to you and your ancestors, and
shit.
Let's
Heck
sing
no.
Kumbaya and hug each other and
They'll never do that, bro. They still try to deny it today, and they denial and their and here's what they try to portray is that things are getting better. Things are better. You guys had a black president. Now we got this black Supreme Court
man,
justice. Now we got this black woman who is vice president who does not stand for any fucking community that you or I ever grew up in. She don't
pre-
stand for us.
president.
Obama didn't stand for us. Like, let's be real. I mean, he
and
may
and
have
and,
implemented some
and I wanna
policies, but he didn't stand for us
and
as
I wanna
as
jump on
blacks.
that. Trevor
You
Noah,
know,
y'all know Trevor Noah, right?
Oh my God! Like
you know the
Tre-
communities that we grew
yeah,
up
I
in.
know him,
That
but
me,
yeah,
Chaka,
I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna
well,
listen
growing
and
up
see
in
what.
the hood, dude. Look at the shit that we faced, and all of these hoods and these communities were all done by government it was the hate that they
Set
have for
up.
people. We basically were poor, and then they tell you, well, you shouldn't be victimizing society by selling drugs or doing this because we gave you free housing. But dude, you put us in the worst fucking predicaments ever. You know what I'm saying? Look at how
And
Look,
we barely
wait,
had food. We barely had this.
look,
You go into a corner store. People in these communities create these or start these corner stores. They don't like you. They're very racist against you. And you go into their store, you pick up something. They're following you around the aisles of the store. You go to the counter, like they're damn near calling the police on you if you 2 pennies short at the counter at the register. You know what I'm
and
saying?
it's
Like
not supposed to be
this is
like
hate,
that. It's supposed to be a
but
community. You spend your
yeah,
money in that store every day. Wait,
yeah,
no,
but
the
they
reason
want to
why I
talk
mentioned
about genocides.
you
Look at
talking
what
about the
America did
Democrat
to
shield?
people.
no,
What they
no.
did to
Well,
the
yeah,
people.
yeah. That's it. Because Trevor Noah, he don't really represent us. Those other names you said, Barack Obama, Trevor Noah sympathizes with us, but he grew up and he
Doesn't?
was born in South Africa. He definitely does not represent us. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
no. And
And Barack
his mother
Obama,
faced a harsh deal, but that was by a husband of hers. But yeah, he didn't go through what most Africans go through. He don't resonate with the blacks here in America and
yeah.
what we face every day with,
And that's why
you
we got to
know,
get past that visual. What is it? What do they call it? Visual politics or whatever. I'm not saying it right, but it's like optic politics, where it's like, okay, he looks like me, so
Identity.
identity
that's like Pat had
politics.
to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but last night when Brendan said what he said and I'm glad Pat stood up because I was finna say it, but I wasn't gonna say it as nicely as and polite, you know, it does not work. You know what I'm saying? Just because this person is black that is in control does not mean that they care enough about their own people because we have to remember these are the same people that were taught to self-hate. That does not mean because he's black and he's in power that he means any good for us in this community. Because 9 times out of 10, excuse my language on this podcast, but he sucked dick to get where he's at. You know what I'm saying? He's been bent over in the back offices, and I'm not talking about literally. I'm just saying like he's being controlled. So there's only so much, and most of them
Well,
feel like oh I made it. Well, you should pull up your bootstraps and why
Exactly,
aren't you here? You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
well,
And that
well.
my
Most people don't realize that if you're in the high positions of government, you were chosen to be there
elitism
for a reason. No, it's not even elitism. Because like that chick Katanji Brown, like she's been a judge and all that. Like, but if you check her past, you see that she has done like she benefits a lot of what they want. Like they know that she's not gonna be no black power, or
revolutionary or some shit.
yeah, she's
You
not gonna
know,
do anything for her
Huey P.
people.
Newton. Yeah,
And
She is what they would call a good nigger.
she's
Like
very she
she's a
she's
good
very
nigger.
lenient.
That's what
She's
they look
very
at her
lenient,
as.
but no, she's very lenient on pedophiles. So she fits right in to their whole narrative.
Yeah, because that's all of Washington D.C. We see Joe Biden is a complete pedophile. You know, they
well,
don't talk about the fact that his his
I've seen,
son's mother,
Can y'all still
well
hear me?
yeah,
his now wife, was the babysitter of his son. Now just think about how old that chick was,
yeah.
when he
Well,
met her. You know
I
what I'm
have to
saying? Look,
say, I mean, I've seen some creepy ass videos with Joe Biden, but it's hard. We can't just jump and just, I mean, that's a leap to just, throw him in the boat
hey
like
bro,
that. You haven't
hey
seen
bro,
him.
if an old man, if your daughter is standing on stage being nominated for something, some old man puts his arms around her and smells her hair, as a father, you are a fucking pedophile in my eyes, and I want to do something to you. Like I don't care how that's me following their guidelines of what's good and evil at this point.
Yeah.
like as a grown man, you don't put your hands around an adolescent girl and smell her hair. Who does that? I don't smell my daughter hair. I don't smell her neck. You feel me? Like that's something you do to your girl. Like you just came home off the road, you hug her, you smell her neck, like ooh shit, you know, like you don't do this to a little adolescent girl, bro. That's pedophilish. I'm sorry.
He say pedophilish. let
I'm
me
putting a
let me change the subject. Let me change the subject. I really want to talk about Islamophobia. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I played that other video earlier is kind of because it just caught my eye, but it still kind of goes along with the theme of, it's kind of like the other. It's the othering of people. And that's what those brothers were doing. And that's the reason why they went after Patrice Lumumba. It's such a coincidence how all those names were like socialism kind of countries where they were kind of like sharing the resources and shit. Every single name on that list. So what the hell was they fighting against really? But anyways, let me play some of this right here and we'll come back to that.
The 9/11 attacks by al-Qaeda terrorists 2 decades ago ignited a wave of anti-Muslim sentiment across the country. Tonight, we visit one of the largest Arab Muslim communities in America to explore the long legacy of that day in 2001 and how Islamophobia continues to influence Muslim Americans. As our own Devin Dwyer reports, a grassroots movement is now underway to change the narrative about Islam and patriotism.
At Kawa House in Dearborn, Michigan, Yemeni coffee is caffeinating a resilient immigrant community. Owner Ibrahim Al-Haspani imports the beans from his family's farm in western Yemen. Each aromatic cup a source of personal pride and a symbol of the American dream.
What has made this business so successful in Dearborn?
I think first is the community.
The diverse and growing community outside Detroit is an oasis of global cultures and cuisines. The hometown of Ford Motor Company, a transit hub for railroad freight and producer of sausages that bear the city's name. It's also home to the largest concentration of Muslims in the United States, who've endured 2 decades of scrutiny after the 9/11 attacks.
So I don't remember a world before 9/11, but I do know, as a kid, you don't know what racism is. But you feel it. You feel the way that the white dance moms at the dance studio stopped talking to my mom the day after 9/11 because she was an Arab. People associate people who look like us with an event that we didn't create, we have nothing to do with, and we quite frankly shouldn't be made to feel like we're apologizing for.
Yasmin Kadu and Rima Imad Fadlala were in first grade in 2001 and today co-host a popular podcast that explores Arab American female identity. Both say the events of 9/11 have cast a long shadow.
If you asked me to choose where my American and Muslim and Arab identities start and end, and I sat down for an hour and tried to figure it out, I would not be able to do that. And I think, post 9/11, we really were made to feel like they were mutually exclusive, which is kind of hard to grapple with.
That quiet struggle over identity is playing out in Muslim communities nationwide, advocates say. Dearborn has been leading the conversation, a model of peaceful coexistence between Christian, Jewish, and Muslim Americans thriving together.
You can get one of the best ranked cheeseburgers and wings, cross the street and get the best shawarma in town. And I think that's what really makes us special. Is
30-year-old mayoral candidate.
All right, you guys, what do y'all think? I think y'all probably, anybody want to make comments? Because I think y'all know where I'm going with this.
Well, I'm going to tell you what comes to mind for me is that you would think that more of these Arabs will be more sympathetic to black people. Because if they're feeling that from, just imagine what black people have been feeling for as long, centuries in this country, and something that they've been dealing with since 2001. And a lot of them, not all of them, because I've actually met some Arabs or some of the Muslims here, that's come here that's like truly, real, like they see it for what it is. But some of them, even though they've experienced some of the same stuff here in America, they tend to still, ostracize black people.
But one thing
I think their main
Go ahead,
I think
Nina.
their main goal is to assimilate, especially like immigrants that come here and they're like, okay, I see what the successful people of this country are doing, and I see what the white people want me to do and want me to think, and they try to assimilate. And I think it's the same with like Chinese and Asian populations where they're like, okay, I want to be as close to whiteness as possible. And so they see Black people and people of color, even in their own communities, so those ladies are more white passing, I would say. So they see people of color, even in their own communities, as other. And it kind of, I think the system gets off on us being able to, or us being like, okay, here's this group and I don't like them, or they're this way, they're that way. I think the divide keeps us controlled. And so
And let me I'm sorry, y'all. Both of y'all. Look, what y'all don't understand is, like, first off, those two chicks do not represent the Arab and Islamic community across the United States. Second, these people are not immigrants. These people are American citizens that have been here for generations and generations and generations and generations. They just so happen to be Muslim. Okay, so you're talking about other Americans. You're not talking about immigrants here. In a lot of cases,
but that's I mean, that's just as bad, if not worse. I mean, like when somebody experiences something similar, you know, you don't, at least I don't know Black people to do that, is to try to shit on people more because, they have somebody that identifies with the same things that they go through. No,
you have Black Muslims, Black Orthodox Muslims, very dark skinned.
I get it. I know this very much so. Like, I mean, but they're talking about people when they're looking at an identity, because Black Muslims didn't really go through the whole thing like
I'm sure they did. If they was walking around with hijabs in New York after 9/11, I'm sure they did.
Okay, well, they're not the ones who've been complaining about being treated a certain way. Maybe they're already used to being treated like shit. But these are the girls, like the girls that you just showed. It's the ones like them that are so shocked to be treated so like this because they've already been lived with some sort of privilege. And then when 9/11 happens, and then people start treating them like outsiders, you would think that would maybe capture a different side of them. It's like, okay, you know what, this shit don't feel good. Like, why should I do this to other people? No, they're ready to just grab a hold to whatever is just gonna keep them safe in the whole scope of things, you know what I'm saying? And it's even work, like I would expect more so an immigrant to be more comfortable with doing that than somebody who considers themselves an American that is experiencing the same type of thing. But I know your narrative is probably way different than what mine is, based on what you're seeing and what I'm seeing through it all. But I think it's bullshit. I mean, it's just.
Well, my basis always is sympathy. You don't have no sympathy for them at all in any kind of scenario. This is what it sounded like.
I don't have sympathy for nobody that doesn't have sympathy for for me. You know what I'm saying? They could they would shit on me.
How do you know that? That's a prejudice. That's a prejudging.
Okay, you can call me what you like. I mean, I have a feel. I just can feel that that's the type of person. That's how they would treat me, based on like, because they don't seem to have any kind of like remorse for other people. Like, I mean, that would be one of the things they would speak about, is like, wow, you would think that us as Americans, no matter where we come from, Christians, Muslims, blacks and whites, that we could actually come together and be blah blah blah, whatever. No, that's she just thinking about herself.
It's but see, what I'm trying to get people to understand is that really, truthfully, these are the same people. Okay, for first off, Christians and Muslims are so close together. You know, my
I
mom
know,
was Christian,
bro.
my
I
dad was
studied all of
Muslim.
them,
I
bro.
went to mosques, I went to
I get it.
church. You
Totally
know,
get it.
and I know that literally these are the same people, whether they're have a light skin tone or a dark skin tone. Like they're literally the same people.
I
Like
understand. I
even
know this.
all the way down to the point where they're all United States citizens and been here for generations. Even all the way down to that.
I
So
know.
that this othering of them is what I have a problem with. You get what I'm saying? Because we are separate. Like Mina said, we're separate. They use this to separate us, but we've been brainwashed, right?
Are
We're
we that
inundated.
comfortable? Or I hear what you're saying, and it's you're a good dude for having this sympathy for the people. But do you get to the point to where like you defend other people who going through the same shit that you're going through? That like I
That,
mean,
that's my whole point. My whole point is you let them go at any freaking segment of the society, then who's to say they won't come to you next? Period.
bro,
You have to. We have to protect each other as a community.
but see,
These are our
but that's the
neighbors,
problem. But
friends,
that's
co-workers.
shock. But that's what you're missing, bro. We've been it for centuries already. None of them lend a hand to us and saying, "Hey, you know what? I know exactly what you guys are going through. Ever since this thing happened in 9/11, like, look, I'm with y'all. Whatever y'all are fighting for, I'm fighting for. Ain't nobody lending us no damn hand."
I mean, I feel your energy. I do. I ain't gonna lie. I totally sympathize with your energy, and I know I feel where you're coming from. But what I'm saying is we have to elevate. You know what I'm saying? What they
But of
say,
course,
vibrate higher.
but let me
We're
say
supposed to
this.
be running this shit. So that's
But
the whole reason why this shit is all upside down is because we having this ego trips on and looking at shit in the wrong way. We need to be
no,
looking at it like this is our world and we
listen,
supposed to be running it. Period.
listen. I
We
love
can't run
every,
it with that attitude though, because it's
but
gonna
no,
turn people off and separate people.
bro. I love everybody, bro. But at the same time, the shit's got to be called out because, like, that's like, like there's people that look exactly like us, and when we're starting to like, I don't know how much of the reparations thing that you understand or seen lately, but there's a lot of immigrants that look exactly like us that's mad that we're separating, in order to really, try to win the case on reparations, to put black people in a different position so that maybe we can help their asses. They shit on us and talk shit about us because they're used to robbing our resources, using our resources for whatever the hell they want. And, us saying, because we go and help everybody. We come to everybody's aid and nobody comes to help us when we are in need. So not that I really have a problem with these girls because yeah, I am sympathetic. It's fucked up that it those things happen, but at the same time I think there's other things that need to be called out at the same time because I'm human too. You know what I'm saying? I want people to give a shit about what's happening with me too. I don't want somebody to shit on my son because his skin is different and like he's pretty much everything. Like he knows Islam, he knows Christianity, he knows about just the paganism. Like he can go any direction that he wants to because he can understand, he can relate in with anybody. But would anybody be able to appreciate that just because of his, after just being able to see his skin color?
Amina, am I articulating my argument clearly, or does it make sense, or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
What I mean is, can you hear me? What I'm saying on this topic, because I don't know if I'm being clear.
I would like you to repeat it one more time so I can grasp it a little bit better.
Okay,
Because
let
what
me
I'm
play.
hearing you say is that um one, we need not only being sympathetic but being empathetic, meaning we can put ourselves in their shoes. We can understand what it's like to be discriminated against or be the other. But I also hear you saying that I hear you acknowledging intersectionality, which is um, being American, being Muslim, being Black, being Muslim, being an American, Black, and Muslim, and how that really affects how we move through life and how we're um, kind of viewed by others, right? So you're kind of acknowledging the intersectionality between, how do we manage being Black and Muslim and an American, or how do we manage being Muslim and American and people aren't treating us the way we want to be treated, or we don't feel this sense of Americanism just because of our past, what we look like, our last name, our name. Is that what you're saying? Are you kind of pointing to like how it's all connected and they affect each other? It's all interconnected, I mean.
Yes, but I'm also saying that these are the same people. All of those descriptions that you made can be laid on that same person. These are your neighbors, friends, and whatever. And also, these people, okay, I sympathize, Pat. I know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Black people, there ain't no argument. You know what I'm saying? And if we see, that's the thing, though. If we want to scale the, who suffered the most or whatever, and make that argument, I don't, but that's not the argument I'm making. The argument I'm making is that these people are literally the same people as us. The othering of them is a creation, and also we even if they was, we should be building a community together with the commonality of the common experiences, so that we can build a community together to fight against this shit, so that it won't be like this for the future for our children.
I hear you, and we've never been the type of people, especially not in mass. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some rare situations for some, black people that might actually hate these people, but that's not what you find. Like we usually, like, I mean, people going through some hurt, usually we identify with those type of people because we know what it feels like. And I don't think it's been a problem for us to accept people such as, Muslims of any skin color. You know what I'm saying? Like, even people who try to rob our identity, we even say, okay, you know what? Hey, whatever. Call yourself what you like. Go ahead. Just do what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, I don't think that that's an issue for us. And I mean, us crying out for some people to try to get the real others to join in and say, hey, let's give a shit about people and not really, like, can we identify each other as neighbors, and we're all Americans, and whatever. Like, bro, I mean, that's gonna be a tough battle. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm trying to do here. The mission impossible. Because the thing is, like, the people who like are Jamaican, let's talk about that. Jamaican, Haitian, Cuban, Dominican, you know what I'm saying? These people come to the United States, and the cops look at them as black people.
Well, I say to some extent.
So
I say to some extent.
they say I'm Cuban, or they say I'm Dominican, or they say I'm Haitian, or they say I'm Jamaican, or they say I'm from Belize. Nah, you black. Period.
Well, I think that works up to a
But you know
certain
what? You know
extent.
what I have a problem with? I feel like every other people that look like us always try, and when they come to this country, they always try to identify as someone other
They do. I think you're right, dudes.
because they realize what blacks face in this country,
Right.
and I
They don't
feel
want to
like our
identify.
own people ignore it.
They don't.
We're always so quick to run
I
to
I
everybody
know
else's
no no
aid, but
I know block.
nobody takes the time.
I know block. I know
But nobody
I know block.
That's what they do, and y'all see in their
Nobody takes
cars, they hang those little flags.
nobody.
I noticed that a lot. It's being more and more popular, and it's like for that what I'm talking about with the cops, because like I say, the cops gonna see you as black, period. And then once they pull you over and they see you start speaking in another language, they see a flag in there or whatever, then maybe they'll soften up or something, or maybe they'll get harder, or who knows, depending on their sensibilities. You know what I'm saying? But Deuce is right. I think that that's a big part of
Most
the
of the
problem.
time, they're gonna get lighter. That's why they say I'm not black. It's gonna get lighter, and that's why I'm saying for you, it's gonna take you to get outside of your bubble of Houston, Texas, to realize what we face as a black man in America. You're gonna have to get out of this, bro. You're gonna have to travel. You're a philanthropist. You're gonna have to go
Well,
to other parts of this country and realize what we face and see and be more
because
transparent. And maybe you will not be so sympathetic. You'll learn to be a little
well,
bit more
very
empathetic,
it's very
but not
admirable.
sympathetic.
I'm not gonna lie, like it's very admirable, and I think I've had so many different types of interactions to where, like, I'm just waiting to see, okay, what am I gonna get this time? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, man, they got so many, like some of these guys, like, especially like from Ethiopia, like truck drivers, bro. They act like they act like they're better than you. Like they like if you know what I'm saying, like you'll try, you know what I'm saying? I try to be somewhat welcoming to anybody of, really all races or any type of person, but you see a black person, you standing at the door, like I'll stand there for an extra 30 seconds in order to be to hold the door for them when they're coming in. And then like they won't look at you, they won't say thank you, they won't, like, they're just kind of like, yeah, thank you, yeah, good, yes, you're doing your job, nigga.
But see, my argument is that this is people, okay?
It
And you're
is.
you're basing this on your personal experience, but people span
I
span
don't
different
have anything
spectrums,
else. I don't
different.
have anything else, Chaka.
I
None
get
of
it,
us have anything else.
and
Let's
that's
be honest, Chaka.
and that's
Like,
fair. That's fair. That's fair. But what I'm saying is, you got white people that suck, and you got white people that's cool. You got Jamaicans that suck. You got Jamaicans that's cool. You got Americans that suck. You got Americans that's cool. You get what I'm
I,
saying?
I know, but that's the thing. That's the heartbreak I go through all the time, because I see the hope with our own people and with others, whether they're white, Asian, or whatever. I see the hope, and then I see it's like, oh man, we're failing. Like, I mean, because it's like you just don't know, like I said, like, especially out here as a truck driver, bro. I mean, you're already alone. You know what I'm saying? You're already out here by yourself, and then you try to find some kind of relativity with others, regardless of the race. Because, bro, like I say, bro, like I've gone to sit down for dinner, at the bar. We're sitting at the bar, and there's nothing but white guys there. Some of them look like the deepest, darkest rednecks that you'll ever find. And like, bro, like, I enjoy myself better talking with them than you know I have in a long time. You know what I'm saying?
bro,
And
I've been driving a truck since 2007, and I have been treated like shit by my own people of color that are from here, all over this country. I've been treated by shit by Muslim folks. I lived in Michigan and Canada for
For this,
years when I first started driving.
you guys
I've
are
I've faced this
supporting
shit.
my argument
I've been
without even
treated like
knowing it.
shit. I've been treated
okay, well,
I've
I
been
mean,
treated like shit by
it's good to have this
Native
conversation.
Americans, and it's a hurtful thing to see that I can sit down with a group of guys that identify themselves as redneck, gun-toting dudes, and they welcome me with open arms. And there's a group of brothers that's sitting there and they look at me like I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Or there's Muslims in this country that are treated like shit.
because
But
there's
they
a
would
lot of
rather treat me like shit and be more nice to the white guy.
a lot of the, and see, and that's the
Like,
thing. Like to me, it's like all right, look, if we're gonna try to get this thing together, at some point, you know, you not it's not gonna really matter so much about the skin color. What our skin color is. Like
That's my point.
if I stink and I need to go wash my ass or something, all right, I can understand people shying away, but that's never the case. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they have an idea. But I somewhat understand because, I've had an inside track of what some Africans that come here are taught by their parents when they come over here is to don't fool with us, as if, we're bad. But that's the type of thing that, our government teaches or says, hey, if you want to do well here, don't join, don't be getting all close and homely
And
with.
and that's propaganda, just like the Islamophobia that we have. It's
But
been ingrained in
I
in,
know,
in us.
but this is 2022, bro. This has been long enough that, like, you could, like, how can you be so stupid? Like, every part of American culture comes from black people. How can you ignore it, except for the hate?
the
Some.
biggest issue that I have is most of these guys. This is the biggest issue that I have. Most of these guys, these Muslim guys that represent as such, they carry themselves as such. Do you realize how disrespectful they are to American black women? How they treat them? They're the scum of the earth to them, bro. Like like they're the scum of the earth,
That's what I
and
want to
I've
know. Hold on.
seen it firsthand.
Hey, hold on, Deuce, Miss Amina. Do you have any experiences, good or bad, with like maybe an African foreigner, or even, I know that the conversation has been more about Islam or whatever, but just based on the conversation that you hear from me and Deuce, what kind of experience, have your experiences been more good or more bad?
More good. So, people, because I am genuinely sweet and inquisitive and caring to other people, that's what they give me back. And I know I haven't had a whole bunch of crazy experiences with people. I I did have an Uber drive with, I think, a Muslim American, and he had just came over, and he had said, the thing I don't like about the people in these countries is sometimes they're so lazy, and I came over here and I worked and I did everything. But I agree with everything he had to say? No, but I gave him the chance to listen. And I think that's what I pride myself in, being able to lead by example and being able to give them the respect and give them the space to express themselves, even if I don't agree with it. So, like, I get what you guys are saying, but I think at the end of the day, like, you should lead by example, and we should fight for everyone's right to have a voice and be heard, even if they're talking crap, even if they're
Even if they're
you met
wrong.
some person and they were mean to you once, or like, you have to be able to, you should
Talking about me, huh, Pat?
respect the ability, respect someone else's right to have a voice or
Yeah,
talk,
no.
because you might end up, by listening to them, you might end up changing their mind. I know there's a documentary on Netflix right now with a guy who talked to KKK members, a black man, and I don't know if
I've
anyone has
seen it.
seen it yet.
Yeah, I've
But
seen it. That's about 10 years old, but yeah, I've
right,
seen that.
he was able to change some of their minds just by listening to them.
I
They said
know,
the most disrespectful shit to him.
but
But
look,
I really like that idea of being able to giving a person the space to not coming in with that prior judgment that we have, giving someone the space to express themselves and be like, hey, can I really know your side? Like, I don't think anyone genuinely as a black person has asked a KKK member genuine questions about what their stance and how they felt. And being
yeah,
when they saw him being an example, when they saw him being genuine and being able to listen to them, it changed their mind.
Yeah, Pat. Oh, he dropped out. Damn it. I know he wanted to talk. Let me play some of this before we get him back.
Imagine a huge dark piece of cloth hung over your entire body like you were a shameful statue. That is an excerpt from the poem Under the Burqa by the playwright formerly known as Eve Ensler. It was recited by Oprah Winfrey on February 10th, 2001 in front of 18,000 people who had paid $1,000 per ticket to attend a Vagina Monologues Gala event. They then witnessed Winfrey remove a blue shuttlecock burqa from an Afghan activist. That was 8 months before the invasion of Afghanistan. There isn't a better summary of over 20 years of U.S. involvement in Afghanistan than that. An exorbitantly expensive spectacle of salvation and dehumanization using the body of the Afghan woman as a front. It also sums up what U.S. coverage of Afghanistan has looked like for over 2 decades.
For the women of Afghanistan, the veil, the burqa, has become the symbol of the Taliban's power.
How long does the military think it will take them to finish the job that they came there to do in terms of Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban?
Hundreds of women, many in burqas, gathered at a wedding hall to implore officials to find a kidnapped American aid worker.
For the first time, hitting the Taliban where it hurts, targeting the drug labs that double as money machines for the insurgency.
With the Taliban seizing power, the fate of Afghan women and girls hangs in the balance, as do hard-fought freedoms and rights.
In its coverage of Afghanistan, the U.S. media has tightly held hands with U.S. foreign policy, helping justify an invasion born in large part out of the fog of vengeance following the 9/11 attacks. And so when we closely examine American media coverage of Afghanistan from the invasion to the occupation, even the withdrawal in late 2021, we see how U.S. militarism and, in many cases, U.S. journalists themselves are presented as a source of salvation. Afghanistan deserves a better story, and for us here to tell that story from the vantage point of the American empire, we need to be able to re-examine how we've built the narratives around American militarism, its victims, and the so-called war on terror. We need to define the real legacy the United States leaves in Afghanistan, one which is about the horrors of violence and not one about a reluctant savior, a bumbling empire. Welcome to Backspace, where we tell you how the story is told in our headlines, and then we think about how we can tell it differently. Bodies of the women and the violence done against them by their own men, while actively ignoring the role American militarism plays.
The Taliban, of course, is responding in the way that it always has, that Osama bin Laden and his associates are guests in their country. Well, it's time for the guests to leave.
It is obviously late in the evening in Kabul, and once again, they are finding nighttime very unpleasant.
As we drive out the Taliban and the terrorists, we're determined to lift up the people of Afghanistan. The women and children of Afghanistan have suffered enough.
Afghan women were and still are depicted as simply victims of their men's savagery. They only exist in our headlines when they're being beaten by their own men, denied education by their own men, or when they're killed by their own men. And journalists, of course, have made themselves the voice of Afghan women against their own men.
The hidden victims of war and a brutal male-dominated society, a rare look inside the lives of Afghan women and their struggle to survive.
The need for female officers is definitely there, but you can imagine the incredible obstacles and taboos that Afghan women have to get through in order to do this kind of work.
Violence towards women is not just committed by the Taliban, and it's quite frequent. And in a report released just this year by Human Rights Watch, it stated that nearly 9 out of 10 Afghan women suffer physical, sexual, or psychological violence or forced marriage at least once in their lifetimes.
Rarely, if ever, do we hear about how the women of Afghanistan have been impacted by over 20 years of American militarism and occupation. Instead, we see blame placed primarily on culture, on tribes, implying that this violence and hatred of women is simply a part of a rough terrain where men rule and women serve. But how did severe U.S. economic sanctions, which have been used against Afghanistan since 1999, impact women? The healthcare system, maternal health care. How did over 20 years of American military occupation, drones, war crimes, misuse of funds, and failed institutional building impact the economic, political, and physical well-being of women? U.S. coverage shows us that violence against Afghan women only exists at the hands of their own men and never ours. Ours are there to help. But shouldn't U.S. coverage hold the actions of its government accountable? Shouldn't U.S. coverage look at its government's complicity in worsening conditions for Afghan women? Journalists seemed pretty excited to start the war to save them, but not as much when the time came to hold their own governments accountable. This was nowhere more apparent than in the coverage of the U.S. exit from Afghanistan in August 2021. A long-planned but haphazard violent withdrawal led to a sudden increase in concern and horror amongst American news punditry and reporters about the well-being of Afghan women.
With the Taliban in control, Afghanistan's women and girls now find themselves fearing that 20 years of progress will vanish.
Afghan women, do you worry that they were abandoned by the United States, essentially?
The most vulnerable are little Afghan girls. What are you hearing? Are Afghan girls able to get out?
Many American journalists seem shocked that 20 years of well-documented corruption and destabilization didn't result in Afghanistan turning into a liberal Western democracy, that it fell apart so quickly. We saw blame put on President Joe Biden for failing the people, and specifically the women of Afghanistan, by leaving them at the mercy of the Taliban.
Did you get the sense that President Biden cared about the fate of Afghan women?
I don't think so. He said U.S. could not be the police of the world to protect women in any other country.
If there was a frustration by President Biden that staying wasn't going to help things, we've now seen that leaving can make things worse.
Many journalists began to see themselves as saviors, imperfect, but saviors nevertheless, taking up the responsibility of demanding that something be done to protect Afghan women. And then there was the glorification of American militarism. We were inundated with feel-good stories, tweets, and photos about U.S. soldiers and Afghan children, where the occupier was, again, portrayed as a savior and ultimately a good-hearted person, because they were on our side. They represent us.
This is what American troops were doing before terrorists struck today: feeding children, playing with kids, lending an arm to the elderly. The American military is the greatest in the world, not only because of its superior force, but because of its humanity.
Now,
comments.
You know, I'm not really surprised that, for the types of things that we deal with our own government, to hear that they're stressing other people across the world is not really a surprise to me. I mean, I'm very sympathetic to, what's happening to others around the world, but I mean, the comment about, the United States can't go around being the police, even though they've tried to be that in different ways at different times. But I mean, if that's the case, I mean, we would be warring with everybody all the time, forever, if we did.
Yeah, so that's a ridiculous even idea. So, but it's like how the media portrays these images and creates these narratives. So just like she was saying, and I just saw a news story about Afghan women or whatever. So now they're screaming about Afghan women all of a sudden, like, like the Afghan women was just great before.
No, what they've been suffering for, if you want to call it suffering, and because just offering them schools, something that they've never had before, was a new thing for them, because they couldn't go to school, they couldn't learn. Like, I don't even know if they had like regular school for boys, you know what I'm saying? But that's one of the things that they started promoting while they were there, and that's one of the things that they used to try to make the Afghan government, the Taliban and all that, look bad. But I think that there was a lot of things that they were more concerned about, because this is not a new thing that the Western world has tried to go and control things in, Afghanistan and Turkey and Iraq and like in that part of the world where at some point they always have some type of involvement in, what we call the Middle East. But, I mean, we never know why it is what it is. Like maybe they would be more advanced than us if they didn't have interference from outsiders. You know what I'm saying? You just never know.
I mean, what is the function of the UN? Why does the US have to fulfill this big brother role? I don't understand why the UN couldn't do this.
Well, but that's the thing. The UN are like a lot of, like when we hear UN and NATO, I mean, in a lot of cases, that's how they've, the world has somewhat manipulated the United States as being able to use them as a bully, as a force to go into other countries, so they don't have to do it themselves, because most of them care enough about their own citizens not to send them through that type of stuff. So
basically he's saying the UN, well, maybe not the UN as much, but definitely NATO is a front for the United States, is whatever the United States' agenda.
Well, because I mean, it's not like, I mean, as far as the planning goes, a lot of it is they are in cahoots together. They are, an alliance, mostly in thought, but when it comes down to actual force, it's mostly the United States that is the baron, the one who runs off into the middle of the fight with guns blazing. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, if we allow ourselves to be manipulated, because I mean, that was one of the things, I did appreciate about Trump, was that he's like, hey, look, we're sending out, we're weakening our own military, sending them all over the place. We're not getting, justly, paid for our, our actions and things like what we're doing to help other countries. I'm withdrawing us from NATO. So, just because, I mean, if they really want our help, they're gonna have to, really make a true agreement, like make a real deal. Whereas they don't have to necessarily do that. They don't have to pay for anything. They can get everything they want just because they have the alliance with America.
But I
So,
think that's
mean,
one of the things that Trump didn't understand, was how interconnected the CIA, BlackRock, Boeing.
now he knows.
And that it's really just like a money giveaway. It's like money laundering. It's like, it's not and as far as from those companies' point of view, it's not a bad thing. It's all good,
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I don't think, because I mean, I think Trump knows very well. Like, he's played the game, he's a part of the game, but he didn't come to change it. He came to just disrupt it some, because like the narrative in which, like the whole, giving up our sovereignty to this greater power, this one world government, I think he's against. Like, I think he likes the whole national, the national identity, the nationalism, or whatever. So that was one of the things that he really wanted to disrupt, the whole global government type stuff, which I might be somewhat in agreement, like, even though, like, yeah, the borders might be somewhat ridiculous, but at the same time, it still gives some order. Because I mean, if we don't have some kind of control, like, I think even with like with immigration, like, I welcome people that come, but at some point, I mean, do we allow 4 billion people to come here? No, we got to have some kind of order on how we are gonna do things. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
I think there's discrimination even in that order, because not too long ago, I mean, concerning the border, they just let Russians in and Ukrainians, and they were like, hey, you guys can, and I think they get a quicker pathway to citizenship than the dreamers that are here.
Well,
So
you're
I mean,
right.
it I see your law and order, but you also have to realize the systemic things that are going on underneath that. Because like there is law and order, but for who?
Well, I'll say this because, because I don't want it to seem like some kind of, this is because I mean it has become the whole thing, the competition between Trump and Biden, but you know, Biden does have a certain love for Ukraine. Like this, like these are probably all his second and third cousins that's in Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? His son is doing business there. Really it's his business, but his son is operating it, especially since he's the president right now. But however, that's why they got preferential treatment. And like when the Haitians or the Honduran people that got held up in Del Rio, like they can get sent back because he has preferential. He prefers there is no more people of color coming into America. He wants it to be more white. And nobody thinks that Biden is racist, but he really is. They should be able to see clearly now, but some people might be foolish enough to think that, oh, that's just happenstance. But Trump, he says, look, no more. Like, I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you're white, you're black, you're brown, you're yellow, whatever you are, we got to cut it off until we can get some things straight. So, we're talking about two potential races of, some people would say definite, but either way, there's one who's straight up and says, hey, look, I don't think we should have any immigrants coming in, and we got one that's like, no, we're only gonna let this certain kind of immigrant come in. So I mean, that's the difference on that. But either way, getting back to the whole conversation of the Islamophobia, um, is there really a phobia, you think?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that it's been ingrained and in our heads for the longest. It's just like the Russia thing. It's
In our heads, or you?
All Americans, all United States citizens, if you've been here, if you've been growing up
Really?
here, yes.
I see that, and I disagree.
And it's just like the black phobia, the black beast, the black predator,
Niggerphobia.
Yeah, they're gonna rape my children.
Look, don't even say that because that's exactly the type of stuff. Well, no, your president said that he don't want his children going to school with the black kids because they're just gonna turn the school into a jungle.
And that's my point, man. It's the same rhetoric. And that's why I don't see why y'all can't see that. Because that's the reason why I'm trying to cover this Islamophobia thing, is because it's the same stuff. It's literally the same.
But no, but see, the problem I don't think is the people, because the people end up, like when our government and our media together put out this type of rhetoric that uh you know Islam is our problem, when Islam is a religion, not a group of people that, what I'm saying, like now they keep putting together these boogeyman groups for, you know other groups to get afraid of and to what I'm saying, like pretty much ready to kill or hurt or, on guard really at all times because of how they position other Americans. And that's the thing, like if we continue a lot, letting people get inside our head that way, I mean, there's enough proof for us to see how careless they are with doing things like this, that we shouldn't, by now we shouldn't fall into that. Because I mean, I don't believe, because I mean, as far as me and the people that I know, we don't, there's no Islamophobia. I'm afraid of somebody of Islam.
It's not It's not. It's a subconscious thing. It's not a conscious thing. Oh shit! What I did?
No,
Okay.
I mean, no, I mean it has to be conscious. I mean,
That's what we talk about whiteness when we talk about white supremacy, and we talk about it being invisible, and its power is in its invisibleness, if you
but
will.
but no, see that the invisibleness is just people just pretend, because see that's the thing, like when it comes to racism, white on black racism, you know, it's really not invisible. It's like, I mean, especially to the people who's feeling it, but the people that's actually, oppressing, a lot of times they can hide behind it because, that's what they've been doing. Like they covertly express their racism, and they don't know how visible it really is. You know what I'm saying? They pretend so much that they don't even know that they're expressing racism themselves. So I guess you could say that, it's invisible, but it's really not. And I look at this whole Islam thing the same as racism. It's another way to hate people for them being who they are.
Let me read some comments under the video. This is underneath the video that we were watching. It says, "Thank you for calling the Afghan people that live in rural areas, because these people are often forgotten in media." Another person says, "It is absolutely disgusting to just take the Afghan money just like that. It's even more disgusting that no other countries have raised objections to such vile action." Another one says, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty, to make the guilty innocent, and that's power, because they control the minds of the masses."
Exactly.
That's an excellent comment.
That's pretty much what I just said. But I mean, it's usually the government is giving them the route to take. So we can't leave the government out like that. There's hierarchy. You know what I'm saying? The media is just minions of the government. Doing that work that they need to, program their other bots to, kind of start going down the road of hatred with them. You know what I'm saying?
Let me read some more comments. It says, "American empire is the right word. Democracy just vanishes when it comes to world politics." Another one, it says, "Please keep producing this kind of reporting. I find it very important. The economic war the U.S. has waged against Afghanistan is worse for humanity crisis." So that's one of the points that the lady was trying to make in the video. I don't know if y'all caught that, but she was trying to say, like, the war was, I mean, come on. And then the sanctions and all that shit. But they're like, "Oh, it's the Taliban that's messing these women up." Not in no defense. I'm not defending the Taliban, because it really sucks, because they are now excluding women from school right now. They've started doing that already. Let me read some more. It says, "I am trying to read Orientalism by Edward Said, and have found the terminology to be a bit elusive, but I noticed some similarities his book shares with this video. I appreciate how Sanaa takes an inquiring approach to framing and coverage of U.S. mainstream news." It says, "How can a country that's been around for 300 years tell a country that's been around for over 3,000 years how to conduct their lives?" That's a great comment right there. It hasn't even been 300 years.
No, it hasn't been 200. Let's see. Well, yeah, I guess from 1776 to now would be what, 250.
The gall. The unabated gall. Let me read some more. It says, "The person who is in charge of the set and lighting need medal." Let me read some more. "This video is incredible. The way you don't excuse the crimes of Afghan women are going through, but while tying it back to the impact of the U.S. occupation that allowed this toxicity to bloom is brilliant. It says, great way to explain about how the consistent wars can affect a larger group of people and normalize the violence. Really tragic what America does to so many countries with their constant thirst for resources, then how they keep hero washing the media's zeitgeist. Let me play a little bit more of the video and then we'll chop it up.
Compare that to what felt like silence from the same American newsrooms once it began to be reported that over 23 million Afghans were facing mass starvation, with only 2% of the population having the means to feed themselves sufficiently. That the winter was about to claim countless lives. But that level of devastation wasn't from a natural disaster. We knew a famine was approaching in Afghanistan as early as March 2021. The famine has been made a lot worse by Joe Biden's decision to freeze $7 billion in assets from Afghanistan's central bank. That was justified as a way to coerce the Taliban, which retook the country as the U.S. withdrew, into meeting U.S. and European demands. In one of the few instances where the connection was made between the frozen money and the devastation it caused, The Intercept's Austin Allman detailed what the U.S. move has actually meant. That it's kept Afghans from withdrawing their own money, that teachers and government workers are unable to receive their salaries, that the impact the freeze has had on the import-export trade is devastating the economy. Most coverage doesn't actually connect the dots between the U.S. decision to freeze funds and the humanitarian crisis. If it did, the picture would show a starvation campaign waged by the United States on the country it supposedly went to war to save. Usually, the frozen funds are buried deep into articles that offer little context beyond painting the Taliban as primarily to blame for the hunger. The framing makes it seem like freezing the money was the logical thing to do, to stop the money from getting into the hands of the Taliban.
The United States continues to face difficult fundamental questions about how it might be able to make reserve funds available to directly benefit the people of Afghanistan while ensuring that the funds do not benefit the Taliban.
It can be spun any way, but that won't change the fact that by freezing those assets, the United States enacted a policy of mass starvation. And yet, there seems to be less media concern about Afghan women and girls having enough food to eat than there is about what clothes they have to wear. Take the Wall Street Journal, for example. Between August 1st, 2021 and February 16th of this year, the Journal posted over a dozen articles, podcasts, and videos about the dangers facing Afghan women from Afghan men and from the Taliban. And articles and podcasts on the famine and the starvation facing millions of Afghans? A handful. Even then, reports weren't framed around the direct impact of the U.S. freeze. Coverage in the New York Times follows a similar suit, where stories about Afghan women outnumber those specifically about the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan and the U.S. role in exacerbating it. Now, on February 11th, President Joe Biden made the announcement that the $7 billion would finally be unfrozen, but it wouldn't be given back to Afghans. Instead, half of it would be given in aid, meaning distributed by U.S.-approved organizations. The other half, the Biden administration has decided that it will keep the money for itself, putting it in a compensation fund for victims of 9/11, meaning further punishment for a crime that Afghanistan never committed but has paid for 2 decades. Meaning Afghans are paying reparations to citizens of the richest country in the world while they are being starved. But Sana, we really talk about Afghanistan differently? Are you saying we can't talk about Afghan women? This is sounding like whataboutism and Taliban apologia to me. We absolutely can, should be talking about Afghanistan completely differently. Demands for more humane and honest reporting that holds American war crimes and occupation accountable can be uncomfortable for many. It is, after all, easier to frame the United States ultimately as good but bumbling, and just blame the scary brown-bearded Muslim men for everything that's gone wrong. So where do we start? How can we as journalists talk about Afghanistan, especially in its current situation, in a way that is humane and honest? We start with defining the actual legacy of the U.S. war in Afghanistan, and we begin that with the violence that is at its heart. Instead of using this moment following the US exit to earnestly self-reflect on the criminal excesses of the war, on the toll it took on the people of Afghanistan, the American media collectively erased 20 years of history and rewrote the narrative to make the US into a restrained savior. The US presence in Afghanistan didn't begin in 2001, but that's a good day to start. The single greatest source of violence in Afghanistan over the last 20 years comes from the presence of US war and occupation. Rural Afghanistan, which is where the majority of Afghans lived, has been devastated by the occupation, which has seen drone air wars claim many lives, including of men and boys who have been indiscriminately and without contention or evidence labeled enemy combatants. Then there is the question of violence against women in Afghanistan. There are cruel realities for Afghan women. Our job isn't to deny that. Our coverage, however, needs to take into account how 40 years of war and 20 years of military occupation creates a culture of violence, what it does to a society. When violence is normalized at every major level, then it is normalized in the most private of spaces as well. Generations of Afghans, boys and girls, men and women, have gone through 4 decades of horrific violence, often related to foreign invasions, which disrupts not only institutions, but also a country's cultural fabric and its interpersonal relationships. When we chalk everything up to that's their culture, we have removed any and all responsibility of our government and 20 years of context we, as the media, are also responsible for because of the dehumanizing coverage of the people of Afghanistan. Another way of reckoning with the US legacy in Afghanistan is to be clear that there was no nation building, just like there was no saving of women or building of democracy. What we continue to refer to as a nation building project, creating institutions to better the day-to-day lives of Afghans, was actually billions of dollars pumped unchecked into the hands of corrupt Afghan government officials, Northern Virginia defense contractors, warlords, or it just disappeared. Then there's talking to Afghans, not just those with families who worked with past governments or those who have worked with the US military as contractors or those who live in Kabul. Afghanistan is home to over 38 million people, 74% of whom live in rural areas. Yet interviews with Afghans focus on major city centers or the diaspora. And when the US war in particular has disproportionately impacted Afghans in rural areas, shouldn't they be at the center of the stories? I have to say that there is good reporting from many US journalists. Their work, while functioning as the exception to how mainstream US media has covered Afghanistan, offers that better and honest coverage that reckons with this country's legacy of violence is possible. Now, there's a lot more we can put in here, and we will. One of our upcoming episodes will be about how the US media covers so-called terrorism. The envisioning of the US legacy in Afghanistan as a bumbling savior is rooted in a bigger story of how the US media covers and engages with the myths propelled by the war on terror. Because that's the other thing about covering the war in Afghanistan. It doesn't exist in just the context of 20 years of military occupation. Coverage of all wars, special ops, or whatever we want to call US militarism abroad over the last 2 decades has been built on deeply rooted assumptions and imaginings of Muslim societies, and about how American violence, while it makes mistakes, is ultimately good violence. Like so many other societies in this world, Afghanistan doesn't have a single story to tell. But we, as journalists living in the United States, can hold this country accountable for the many stories it has denied the Afghan people. The many stories it's cut short.
And that dude in that other video said the stories that history leaves out is our story. Let me read Mina's comment. She had to go. Is it let me do it? It says, she said, the U.S. uses the depiction of the oppressed Afghan woman under Taliban rule as a scapegoat for the impact of American militarism in Afghanistan. They want to point the finger and steer their attention away from themselves. Well said, Mina. Y'all want to make comments?
Um,
think I,
I thought she was pretty vocal about a lot of stuff that's actually happening. You know, the realities of it. So, not so much. I mean, I guess we could harp on some of the things that she spoke about, but I think she was pretty clear. I mean, is there anything that you wanted to point out?
well, you talking about from the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty clear. I mean, I hope people heard her, and but what the reason why I played the video is the context of, the whole thing of the Islamophobia, because it's like she said at the end of the video, the Afghan war is just not, it didn't happen in a vacuum. You know what I'm saying? And my point is that this ingrained Islamophobia that they have bred here in the United States leads to this type of thing. You know what I'm saying? War in Afghanistan. And,
Well,
go ahead.
well, my I guess my biggest problem in all of this is that because they always choose to use sanctions that hardly ever rises to the top, like where like
Right.
they're not suffering the people at the top that they really claim to be trying to hurt. No, they're doing it actually hurting the average everyday person who already has been, you know, subject to a lot of these, issues that they never caused. It's just like, okay, and and with my mind, some people call me like I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, but I think a lot of this stuff is purposely done. Like, I mean, with their overall plan, it helps them to put people in those types of positions to, just pretty much they can't have money. They're not prepared to pretty much live without it, where, some people might have had more time. I mean, just based on what was happening with Afghanistan and Taliban shutting off their money, shit, they didn't have time to go grow food and, be able to start having a way to feed themselves. They didn't have no real warning that this was coming. So they're screwed. Like,
Right.
I don't know, man.
Let me read some more comments. It says, "Thank you for this video. Some of it was uncomfortable to hear, but important to confront. Edit. Just get a few minutes further into the video, and I was one of the uncomfortable for many. It wasn't until mid-February when Biden unfroze Afghan central bank assets and gave half to the families of 9/11 victims that I realized I had to re-examine my information on the situation. It was far too reminiscent of France's indemnity of 100 million francs from Haiti." Yep.
But that's bro. Look how hateful this dude is, and I mean I'm saying this dude. Speaking on Biden, he's got the moral compass to give reparations to some people who got hurt. Not saying that they shouldn't be compensated or something like that. I'm not saying that, but like those people didn't ask for no reparations, but there's people here who has, and he keeps ignoring them, act like we haven't said anything. Like, I mean, they owe us money.
Yeah.
And don't want to give it to us, but they can take these other people's money and give it to somebody just because they can. Like, they're not doing that with their own government, but they can go do it in somebody else's.
That's
and
crazy.
they know 1,000% Afghanistan, Iraq, was like none of those countries over there had anything to do with 9/11.
Yeah.
Like they know exactly who did it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let me read some more. It says, "As an Afghan, I can only confirm these facts. God bless you, lady." Another one, it says the same exact situation happened right after the liberation of Korea in 1945. Mass starvation in local regions led to anti-American sentiments, which caused riots in several regions, which caused U.S.-occupied Korea to take heavy-handed measures, which caused more riots, which caused 70% of the country to denounce U.S. occupation and support socialist ideas. I think a lot of the stuff they be doing be having unintended consequences. Let me read some more. It says, I love your program.
Unintended?
Yeah, I don't know, but you don't know if it's intended or not. Yeah, who knows what the fuck they up to? Who knows?
Bro, these people are far from incompetent, and these are people that we call have processes that they have built structurally to do certain things. They know the ins and outs, like they know the type of effects that comes from it, and I promise you, these people, they're far from dumb, bro. They're not just some ignorant people that just so happen to fall into office to be able to, especially Biden. He's been in government for 70, since he was 2 years old. Shit, I'm being funny, but I mean, honestly, for 50 years, he's at least 50 years he's been in government. So it's like he knew exactly what that was going to do. He's seen it play out so many times before. He's just kind of like, he don't even have to read the handbook no more. Like he knows what he wants to see happen in a situation, and he can say, okay, well, yeah, we should do this. All right, yeah, you know what? Take this, take such and such, and sanction here, sanction that, whatever, blah blah blah. They know what type of outcome is going to come with those decisions, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Let me read some more comments. It says, who remembers the National Geographic cover of the Afghan girl and saw outrage in her eyes against the persistent photographer? I never saw fear nor suffering except outright disgust and irritation. How dare they dug her up many years later to nudge her again to reveal her face. I myself am torn with mixed emotions. Grateful on the one hand to be able to gaze upon such a mesmerizing image, and yet disgusted by how she was used to further others' agendas. My heart goes out to the Afghan people. It says, thank you so much for this content. It helps to balance the overwhelming U.S. narrative of West is best. I enjoy the longer, in-depth discussion because it's more complete and does justice to the topic being discussed. It also stands out from other pro-Western media that provides lopsided, surface-level coverage for entertainment. Everything is just entertainment. Don't nobody really want to dig through the details or anything.
But you know what? You know what I'm going to call Europe from now on? The
What's
Middle
that?
West. They're the Middle West.
The Middle West.
They're not really West. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just like the Middle East ain't really, I don't know. I just feel like, because I mean, they try to do everything to keep from those areas being called Africa, just be considered a part of the African continent.
Or Asia. I don't know. But it's definitely not. There's no European continent. Let me read some more comments. It says, I wish more could be done to hold the U.S. accountable. They're so oppressively powerful that it's extremely difficult to stand against them. That's true. This one says, this was a great video. If you're talking about problems of the media, it would be unjust to not mention how corporate influence, in the case of oil or defense companies, can influence media. While I'm sure all your points are something for an individual journalist to learn from, the problem may lie more at the systemic level than at the individual level. The solution probably lies in crowd-funded media, which is answerable only to the people and not to the corporations. Like me! Perfect segue to put up my fucking Cash App. Cause freaking the guy comment I just read, it said, the answer is independent media that's not beholden to them corporations. So you got, like, we was playing that video where all of them spookily was saying the same exact words, and somebody put that shit together. That shit was crazy, right? Like, it's spooky for all these people to be saying the exact same words.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I'm still trying to find a different route to find that video, because there's other people that I want to see it without having to give off a lot of information that we share inside our government. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just do a YouTube search for the video. It'll pop up because it was
I don't
so
know.
viral.
I don't know how.
Yeah, I wouldn't know exactly what to type in, but maybe I'll look for it for you. I'm good at that. But anyways, that video showed how basically if they're all saying the same things, then like, it's all coming from the same people, and like, you know what I'm saying? These people are not saying their own words clearly. So that's the thing though, but they're getting paid. They work on these big media organization. They're getting this big ass check. So they're caring about their friends and family. They're doing the American dream. So whatever the hell them niggas tell me to say on this damn teleprompter, and I get it, bro, because I could easily be that guy, and I kind of have been that guy before in the past, and I could totally see myself slipping into that guy, because it gets to the point where you're just like, fuck it. Let me just cash this check. You know what I mean? Whatever the fuck they tell me to say on this damn teleprompter, I'm finna say it, and I'm gonna make it sound like it's my words, because that's what they pay me to do. And yeah.
Well, that's why I like being independent. Don't really need their money for shit, and I can say what the hell I want to say.
Exactly.
I really enjoy having that stance. I really don't care.
So exactly. So King Chaka ENT Cash App. But do another ad for myself. $sign King Chaka ENT. You know what I'm saying? Support independent media. I'm talking about doing a day show. I want to do a day show where I cover like the news. So I'm thinking about trying that. What would be a good day for y'all? Like during the week, during the day, even it could be one of the days that we already do a show, and maybe I'll just move it up early or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to say right now, bro. Because
but you could do it. Y'all could do it driving. Because I could just.
I mean, in that case, I mean, whenever it's good for you, because I mean, yeah, I can do it while I'm driving. I don't have a problem with that.
Because I'll just play news stories, and y'all can listen to the news stories, and then we'll comment on the news stories.
That's fine. I mean, because I already kind of told you what other stuff I'm working on in my downtime. Like that's why, like it's been tough on me. Like I've been having a headache for almost 2 weeks straight because of the little bit of rest I'm getting here and there, and whatever. But a lot of that stuff is coming. Like I'm almost done with the setup, but once I'm good on gets totally done with the setup, there's gonna be some change going down.
All right, man. So so I want to do a day
Yeah,
show.
man, it's kind of that'll be a little not trying to shoot it down. If I'm up during the day, I would do it. Honestly speaking, but with my schedule, I work a 6 and 2 schedule. So on the days that I'm off, most definitely I'll hop on. But like if I'm on the truck, I do nothing during the day but sleep. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because I work overnight. I do everything overnight, whether it's driving the truck or working inside the plant. It's all done overnight. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, Doc? Hey, which day of the week? Leave in the comments would be good for you if we did a day show.
But man, like I say, oh my bad, bro. But on my days off, bro, I'm definitely
Monday?
there. to support.
Any day off.
I'm actually moving stuff around and stuff to be more of a, not just to be a participator in the show, but to be a supporter of the show, you know, financially. You know what I'm saying? I've been wanting to support, you know, I just been trying to pay some attorney fees and shit, bro. Let me say this here publicly, live on air. Don't ever get behind with the IRS, bro. Don't ever get behind the taxes. Don't ever. If you ain't, look here, and I'm making fun of my boy Pat right now, and I know he gonna tell me fuck you in the text message or something later. If you ain't a part of no indigenous fucking government and your ass is black or white and you identify as American citizen, don't get behind with these motherfuckers because they will make your life a living hell. And then when you get an attorney, they just bend you over. And I'm gonna tell you, it don't feel good because there's no lubrication, and you got a dick that's about 3 feet long going up in you.
And taste that shit.
Well, no, the only thing I can do is agree with you because it's not like I've been a part of this indigenous government all my life, and you know I was in a situation where I thought I was safe because you know I was involved with an accountant.
Yeah.
And
a creative accountant.
Huh?
A creative accountant.
Creative
A
accountant.
creative accountant.
Well,
yeah,
they lost their creativeness. I'm gonna just say that, at least for me. Like they pretty much said, "Screw you." You like, I don't give a shit what happens, and you know, I don't think you could have a closer relationship.
Yeah. This shit is ridiculous, bro. And you know how you sit back and you talk amongst you and your boys and you be like, nigga, can't nothing in this world make me spend my life savings, yada yada. Look, when you start getting them letters, them threatening letters, and it's like, okay, this shit getting real, like you finna face some jail time. I worked in the prison system. I ain't trying to go to prison in Texas. If this was Louisiana, Angola, where I could work next to the warden, maybe different.
Nigga,
But in
you
Texas,
lost your damn mind.
Yeah, Louisiana prison is worse.
But Texas?
No, bro.
Hey, but
you
Angola
do
has
not,
gotten better over the
no,
years, though.
man, shut your, no, that
Prison is
hasn't.
white collar, man.
No, it has not.
Hey, bro.
It's club fed. It's not club state.
Bro, when you start getting them letters, bro, and then they start calling your phone because the
Man,
IRS so slick,
No,
they don't call you.
when
They
they start
send a
calling
third
you
party
at your
agency.
job.
Say no. Look, when you know, cause see, I've gotten the letters, and they're
Them
telling
motherfuckers
me
call my
no,
job, bro.
no.
They call my
Listen,
superintendent.
did they tell you? No. Look, did they tell you for 1 year you owe them $76,000?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you, bro. Like, and because I didn't file, right? Because I didn't file, they took my whole gross, divided it by whatever the IRS does because you don't file, so there's penalties on you. These motherfuckers saying I owe them like 175,000 for the year 2014 when I didn't even gross that much money as an owner operator. I just got my truck. Like bruh, I had to get the attorney. Now he got that situated, which showed I actually got money back with the way that they filed it. But bruh, and then having to pay him, bruh, they be like, I just gave this dude like I dropped 3,700. They hit me up last week and was like, hey,
How much they want
look,
total?
I paid them 65. They came back and said they need another 3,700. Okay. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, all right, I got away with 65, 3,700. Okay, that sounds about right. That's cool. So then they come back and like, we need another 2,400. I'm like, look, I ain't got that. I'm gonna pay y'all motherfuckers on a payment. Put me on a payment plan. Keep resetting my date.
Say, bro.
Like,
look, they told me straight up $13,000.
Dude, you're talking paying $60,000 in taxes. I don't make that in 2 years.
Huh?
He said he gonna make 60 grand in 2 years. But what I'm saying,
that's what they told me I owed them for just 1 year.
Exactly.
But see, but that's the thing. Like, bro, I don't think I've made over 300,000 a year, but 76,000 still shouldn't be the amount that
I don't know how y'all got into this position because I've always been scared to death of the fucking IRS. Always scared to death.
Bro, I'm gonna
I'll
tell
just
you how
pay.
you
I'm
get it.
paying them
I'm gonna tell you
niggas.
how you get in there.
well, I ain't gonna lie.
But
I've
but
always
it's
been kind of like against the whole, like, I mean, I think it's a scam. Like, there's no law for it, and I have been like, you know what, screw y'all. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and clear this stuff up. I'm gonna, you know, not leave any of this stuff lingering behind. I'm gonna just pay it, and then, you know, from here on, I just won't have that to worry about. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was like, all
Hey,
right, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff cleared up, leave that slate clean, you know, leave this person that I'm leaving behind, Patrick Anders, his name clean, free of debt. But
I I didn't have this problem until 2014 because I always paid quarterly tax, and then listening to some guys that's been in the business, and then on top of that, finding my family, my brothers and sisters in the foster care,
look,
biological brothers and sisters. So I started, like helping them. So
I got
yeah, bro.
schmoozed. I guess what is it called? However you say it. I got
Yeah.
screwed because they like the family member, the close person to me that was supposed to help me with those things. It's like, oh yeah, this is no big deal. Like, we're gonna write this stuff off and write that. Like, it's gonna just wash out. It's just, no problem. I got you. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my friend. Me and my friend, we're gonna do this so that I can take it, blah blah blah. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I just go walk. I just go work some more. So I end up getting behind like what, 3 years. So,
Yeah.
and then I end
And
up like I said, I end up having to pay, because see, I would have rather paid them money to do it than for me to have to pay somebody else $13,000.
bro, hey, look here. I'm gonna tell you right now. If you have a business, this is the best thing that you can do. Well, I ain't gonna say it's the best thing. This has just been advice from my attorney. If you have a business, okay, you need to operate. You need to have your business account set up with either Prosperity Bank or Bank of America. Set up your business account through that. Have your checks go to there. You have the Intuit QuickBooks for small business or for business. Okay. You can every day, as an owner operator or contractor, you can put your everyday expenses in there. It'll total everything up for the quarter and tell you how much you need to cut a check for to the IRS on a weekly basis or a quarterly basis, however you want to do it. Because you can pay the IRS every week if you want to. Every week that you get a payroll settlement check, you can fill out a 1040E form and send
Yeah.
them an estimated amount of what you think that you would owe them, or you could go by the QuickBooks deal. But yeah, like I say, man, I went
That's
through
really
that,
smart,
but
and
it's
because you
it's
mentioned
it's
that before, because
it's a it's a lesson learned.
that's what the big companies do. They pay their taxes up front. And that's what you was explaining in the other video, and I don't think people really
Yeah,
understand that.
most major corporations, right? So you take a trucking company like the company that where I bought my first truck when I became an owner operator, Swift Transportation. Swift Transportation is tax exempt for the entire year. Why is that? Is because they take what they made the year before and they pay taxes up front on that money. So that gives them the tax exemption. That it doesn't give them a 501c3 like a nonprofit, but what it does is it gives them a tax exemption because they have paid taxes on, let's just say their total revenue was 3.5 billion for the year. They take a percentage of that money and they pay taxes up front on that money. That gives them a tax exemption. So that tax exemption falls down to me being an independent contractor to Swift. So when I go to certain places to get services, get maintenance work done on my truck, whatever, tires, whatever, I get that tax exemption. So that's how the corporations do it. Well, I'm not gonna say all corporations, because you got a lot of corporations that get what they call corporate welfare, and the government bails them out and just gives them money because these companies create jobs, so they don't pay on it. But you take somebody like Jerry Moyes, who, like it's on the books that this man paid his taxes up front on all of his revenue made across Swift Transportation. He paid that money out, so he would get a tax exemption for the year because he's already paid taxes already up front. So, being a business, I mean, you don't have to do that, but I would tell any, like me, if once I get back into business, bro, I always did my shit on a quarterly basis. Waiting till the end of the year to do my taxes. Now, I'm gonna continue, and that's the way. Even though I'm not a contractor right now, I'm a company guy. I still do my taxes on a quarterly basis. You know what I'm saying? Which I didn't get
They
anything back last year. I didn't get
they let you
anything
do
back this year.
they let you do a
Yeah.
1099.
No, it's not. It's not a. It's another form. It's a 10 something form that my attorneys do, because what we're trying to do right now, this is the key. When you owe the IRS money, you want to just send them money. You want to send money in. So when you go to them, and once you filed all your years of taxes and you see what you owe, what they gained from you, and then you go and you put in the OIC, which is an offer in compromise, you know what I'm saying? You're showing good traction that, hey, I have done this, I've done this, I've done it, I got this filed, I've paid this much in, I'm doing this, I'm constantly doing this. They have record of it because everything that you see that sent to the IRS is traceable. You know what I'm saying? So you file it, and that's what'll help you out. Just because you haven't filed, like right now, Pat, with you being an owner operator, you can send. I'm not putting your bill. I'm just saying. Let's just say you make a let's just say this week, after all expenses paid, you bring $4,500. You can
Yeah.
take your that 4,500 and say, I'm gonna send the IRS 15% of this. You know what I'm saying? And you can do a 1040E form. You could either fill it out and send them a money order, or you can e-file it and pay it on their website. You know what I'm saying? But for me personally, I would print the form out, fill it out, send them a cashier's check, and I would send it certified. That way you have a tracking number on it. That way if they say, oh, we didn't get it or this or that, you had a tracking number. They can go back to the United States Postal Service and say, and pull that record. You know what I'm saying? Like you could send the IRS, like even people that are waiters, because I'm gonna tell you, like, I know a dude right now that me and him are real cool. He's a waiter, and that's the only type of work that he's ever done. This dude makes $100,000 a year, and he gets away with paying like he get money back. But then when he sat down, uh, he was because what it was, he had to re-up his visa and all that shit. So he had to show the actual shit, and I put him in tune with my attorneys and shit. He had to amend a couple of years of his taxes and actually pay in like $6,000 to show that he was doing the taxes the right way, so that he could go ahead and get his citizenship. So you can get away. A lot of people, a lot of truck drivers or business owners that are independent contractors, they may get money back. They may break even and not pay no taxes, but then you have to look at how they file their taxes. You know what I'm saying? Because your most expensive tax as an independent contractor is your Social Security taxes. You know what I'm saying? That's the most expensive. We don't have a state tax in Texas, but your Social Security tax in Texas may be 10, 15,000 for the year. You know what I'm saying? So you can break even every year and never pay because you have a lot of people that be like, well, Social Security is not going to exist by the time I retire because of the way the budget is so screwed up in the government. I ain't paying that. But then when the IRS hit them with a bill, say you owe us this much, and then when they break it down, they have somebody that's doing the taxes by the book, by the law. Hey man, you ain't paid no social security taxes in 5 years. So you owe $100,000 just in social security taxes.
Plus
I'm saying
entrance, and I'm finna run up in you. So give me
they
that.
kiss
I
my
need
ass.
that.
Yep, and they can kiss my ass too.
And they gonna run right up in you.
I got shit.
You gonna have
I got my own social security.
Hey man, I tell people to do it. I tell people all the time, say man, like just like you say at the opening of this show, don't take my word for it. Look that shit. I tell people, you do what's best for you. Me going through this shit and having to hire an attorney to keep the IRS from putting bank levies, because if they put a levy on your, or they contact your job, you're not getting no paycheck, bro. You ain't getting shit. So that's just a week that you didn't work, and you ain't getting no money, because that shit going straight to the IRS,
and your bills gonna
and they
still
finna
keep
seize
coming.
whatever you got in your bank account.
Okay,
You know what I'm
here's
saying?
here's the cool thing about working in food service. You get sub minimum wage. We only get $2.13 an hour. The government, lenders, nobody can touch and attach your salary because you make less than that. So they can't take that from us.
Because
I
we
always
ain't
thought
got
that.
it.
I used to be in those shoes back in the day.
Nigga, don't
But
tell me you ain't got it when you got this big ass party that they came here and you running parties after parties and y'all charging 18% fucking gratuity on these parties, and then on top of that you got other tables that you waiting on and they may be leaving you 15 to 18%, and then you working from open to
I'm about to
close.
change.
Motherfucker, you just made damn near $1,000 in that day. Don't tell me you ain't got it.
Not where
Fuck
I
that.
work at.
But we only make $2.13 an hour.
Right.
You
Because we
still
make
gotta pay
sub minimum
taxes on your
wage.
tips. You gotta pay taxes on your tips.
y'all
You
y'all
do,
still
but
make the
no. We
original
have to
minimum
do
wage.
on the ones that we claim. On the ones that we claim, we do have to pay taxes. But on the other side of that, it doesn't matter. We can make $5,000, but the government child support, none of that can attach the salary because our base pay is under minimum wage. That's why a whole lot of people dodging child support and shit like that and taxes end up in the food service industry.
That I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to reveal too much about myself, but that's part of the reason why. But I'm free now. I got the letter. I got the letter some time ago.
Hey,
So
hey, you better shut up because you may not be out of the what they call that shit where they can't go back on you. What they
Hey,
call that in the justice system.
sometimes you got to be honest about the bullshit.
yeah. Yeah, so I
Hey,
only have one case now, and it's a little case. So yeah,
they finna
the big one that was taking
they
literally they
finna
were
hit
taking
you. We
my
need back child support.
they was garnishing my wages, bruh. I couldn't work nowhere. I wouldn't be able to pay no bills. I had to work in a wait table job because I get to walk out the door with my cash. I just
Man,
got free some months ago.
the way y'all talking like y'all should be convincing yourselves to to be a part of the indigenous government. Like all these things you talking about that are garnishing your account. Shit, child support. Cause I mean, look, I mean, I pay child support on my own reconnaissance. Like you know, she told me what she needed. I gave her more. You know what I'm saying? Like like I probably pay more than what you know the government would make me, but I don't care about that. Like they not in the middle of my business, and it's going to benefit my son. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, bro. Like
Yeah, well, see, Pat, you
I don't know. They start talking about
bourgeoisie.
$2,000. They start talking about $2,000. They start talking about $2,000 a week. We may have to go get this court system in our business.
if I got it, when I start making 50 grand a month, I mean shit. What? So what? I mean,
Yeah, that's different. That's different. But if you only doing 10 to 20, 10 to 13 grand, 10 to 15
Yeah,
grand a month, but
yeah.
you got
15, let's
business
just say
expenses that
15.
come out of that.
No,
Business
well,
expenses
no.
come out of that, and she wants 2 grand a week. That's a lot of money,
Well,
bro.
remember, I don't have to pay taxes and shit no more. So I mean, that 15 to 20. Well, I mean, it don't went
Dude,
down now because of fuel. So I
I
mean, me
make
making
14 to 19 a month. 1,400 to 1,900 a month. Not 2-3 grand.
100. I mean, you said 15 to 1,900 a month.
Yes.
Oh hell no. Say, bro, I'm gonna give you a job in the next couple of months. Like, you need to make more than that, bro. Like, I'm looking at 15 to 20,000 a month.
See, we all ain't
I
you.
make about 19 to 25 a year. Excuse me, on paper. I make
See,
about
I don't
I
know.
make about 2 grand after. I make about 19 to 27 a year.
I would be stealing. I would be
Yeah.
I would be a thief. I would be a robber if I was making that kind of money.
See, we ain't you.
Man, they
Pat,
make more than that, bro. They make
bourgeoisie.
more than that. They making like 5-6 grand a month.
It
They can't
depends,
be
bro.
making
No, man. If I did that, why would I have gotten kicked out? Why would I be living in a hotel? Because I got evicted from a place that was charging me 15 a month.
It depends on where you work at. All the different jobs are different, and you know what I'm saying, it's all different spectrum. You got lower end and you got higher end. It's just all over the place. So a waiter could be making, 30, 40 a year, and a waiter could be making 240 a year.
But let me ask you this here, bro. There's so many like jobs, like warehousing jobs that will train you with no experience and to start you out at like 15 to 18 bucks an hour. Like, man, me personally, growing up poor, I couldn't do it. Like, I hate my situation right now, and I make good money. You know what I'm saying? But I got a lot of shit that I'm paying for, a lot of mistakes that I made,
Well, and I'm
and
gonna
I'm
tell you,
paying
I
for
mean,
that shit,
the
bro.
way
And
I'm
it's
things,
like,
54
the way
years
things are,
old.
the way things are looking right now, the way people used to be like, like being happy to make 100,000 a year, it's gonna be to the point where people gonna be like, oh yeah, man, shoot, I made just a little less than $1 million, and won't be satisfied. Like, I mean, it's getting to that point to where, like, our because of our financial crisis, if you want to call it that, the
That
inflation and stuff.
all that
Like,
shit. I
I
think
could
that you
thrive and do well for 60 a year.
Yeah, I was about to say right around there, 60, 70 a year, you still check the check. It's with
no,
the prices of
bro,
everything.
you in poverty.
Yeah.
Did you just hit, like, I mean, just $1,500 for probably like a 2-bedroom maybe these days?
Yeah, that's what
nah, it's more
no.
than that.
Like I
It's more than
said,
that. It's about 2,100 out here where I
no,
live at for a 2-bedroom apartment. Is
we're in
about right at
Houston.
2,100.
I'm on the west side. I'm not in like the ghetto, but a 2-bedroom runs somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500, give or take. That's actually a pretty big range, but yeah, you got to add like pet deposits and shit like that, and pet rent now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, my
Yeah,
sister
they
live
charge you
over there off
25
of
bucks a month per animal.
my sister lives off of Greens Road and she live off the Hardy Toll Road and Greens Road back over there by FedEx grounds. And the apartments that she live in,
How long do you think I would last as a white boy down over there?
Yeah.
well, that's all Hispanic. That's all where she live at. It's all like she like the only black. It's all Hispanic and older white folks that live there. But
So we both be
she's
the
paying
odd
like
ones having to
800.
go.
She's paying like 800 a month, bro, for a 2-bedroom over there. You know what I'm saying?
But I work at Westheimer and Eldridge. My girl works at Westheimer in.
And that's the thing. Anywhere that the rent is decent, there's nowhere to work there. You're gonna have to go drive or commute.
Yeah,
work.
go work at the
And
airport
anywhere
in
you
her
can
area.
afford, I
In her
can't make
area is
any
go
money.
work
I
at the
can't make
airport.
any money as a waiter.
Because the trip
Well, if
costs you
you lived
money.
out there in her area, Doc, you would have to go work at Amazon or the airport or work FedEx docks or something like that.
I'd have to go to places where I have zero job skills. I'm
Say, bro,
54 years old.
you know how to
I
drive,
got
don't
bad
you?
health because I've had no health insurance forever. I mean, what am I? Yeah, I can't just go work to Amazon and pack packages for 10 hours a day, not being having to pee in a bottle. I mean, I'm not saying my options are limited, but my options are not like the brightest. I'm 54 years old. I've spent 20 years in retail. I've spent 20 years in food service. I've done management, but I'm a bald, blue-eyed, white guy in this age. I'm having problems finding work, especially people that will pay me. Oh
I'm sure
yeah,
that
then I talk shit on the internet.
I'm sure there's some chicks that'll be glad to pay you for some, you know what?
Doc, you need to become a truck driver, Doc. You become a truck
I
driver.
can't handle the isolation.
Man, bring your girl
My
with
my
you. Bring your
brother
cats.
my brother worked for Stevens and other couple companies running reefers and stuff like that for over 30
No,
years. I went
no,
out with
bro.
him on 3 fucking runs as a lumper, and I wanted to fucking kill him and myself within 2 weeks.
Well, the
You ain't
thing
gotta
is,
stay out
I
that
can't
long,
do
bro.
the
It depends on
isolation.
what you're doing.
well,
I am
look, I'm
too
gonna tell
much of
you.
a social creature.
I'm gonna tell you, like my thing was because like I wasn't really crazy about truck driving in the beginning, especially with the money that I was making in the beginning, because I mean it just really wasn't a lot of money. But like once you get past like year two, year and a half, year two, you get there's more opportunities, you can make more money. But bro, I mean, honestly, like I think we had to get past the whole being comfortable thing in order to be able to have a better life, because that was my main thing.
It's not about that. We talk about energy on this show. We talk about how you absorb it and move it and things like that.
The
I
what?
am a creature of energy. If I don't have energy around me, that's why I went into service. I am a doctorate divinity, doctorate. I mean, multi-denominational religion. I am an associate in education, in speech communication, and I'm working as a server. Partly because it pays more, but at the same time, it is a social thing. If I don't get that social interaction, I crumble, I die, I become a horrible person to myself and to other people.
Hey, Doc, let me ask you this here. Let me ask you this here. If I gave, if I not give you, but if I was to get a van and you transport elderly patients to and from doctor's appointment, would you be willing to do that for, let's say, 800 to $1,000 a week?
Hell yeah, because I can chat with them and talk with them. That's social interaction. Yeah.
Okay, I need to get your information.
I mean,
Yeah,
fair
because that's
warning,
the.
I do
But
not
see,
have my license
no,
now.
I just asked him if he knew. I said, you know how to drive, because that's the same kind of thing. I was like, I'm actually like,
Okay, coming from you guys and my brother, when you guys
but
ask if I can drive, I'm hearing long distance solo truck driving.
well, no, I
Or
know,
with
but
one person that you end up wanting to kill by the time you're
no,
done.
no, 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 no. Because I mean, I know the truck driving. That's like, I mean, for people who really, that's a whole nother dynamic. I'm talking about just like regular driving in the city. You at home every night. You
Okay,
know what I'm saying?
DUI 8 years ago, is that a problem?
For
Not for
CDL
not.
situation, no.
And
I think it's 5
I'm gonna
years
have to
old.
clean up and piss
Not.
clean too, right?
I don't think so. Not now. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't for Texas, but at the same time, that might be based on the company, you know, and
We'll
really
we'll find out
the
that. I can burn that bridge when I get to it.
the insurance company that could be a deciding factor, but at the same time, you know, look, because you know, Deuce
Hey,
already
for $800 a
offered
week, I can go
us.
clean long enough to take a test.
But I'm working on some other stuff. So I mean, regardless, like anybody involved with me, if you know not on the boat, like it's gonna really be, you know, once I'm totally done with my setup, because I'm already kind of told Shaka a little bit about what I'm doing, because it's gonna be endless possibilities.
Man, you ain't told me, goddamn. I need to know, goddamn.
Yeah,
You
your
ain't
time will
told me.
come.
I'm about the money. I'm about it. I don't give a fuck. Look here, give me the money. I'm gonna show you what good and evil look like. I'm gonna be the Joker in this motherfucker.
Well, that's fine. Look, and I plan. If you want to be involved, you're more than welcome. But I'm just saying, like, when I'm done, that's when I tell everybody else.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah,
Let me
Chaka
play
can tell
this.
you when I work, I work.
Okay.
What's that?
I said Chaka can say Chaka will back me when I work. I work. I might talk a lot, but I work.
Yeah, I've been looking.
I do my job,
man, because my dad does that right now with his own car. But I'm looking at trying to take it to the next level. And instead of me getting like a loan on a personal vehicle, I would rather buy a Sprinter van that is outfitted with captain chairs and somebody that I can trust that's going to treat these people with dignity and care and make sure that they get into and from their home to their doctor's visits, back to their home. They may have to stop off at a pharmacy, but most of them are set up on like the 30-day medical supply, you know, unless the doctor give them a new prescription.
dude.
But there's a
Within
lot of
6
money to
months
be
to a
made in
year,
that.
these people are going to be leaving me in their will.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm looking at doing, bro. Like for real.
That
And
sounds interesting.
that's not to downplay nobody and what they got, but that's what I'm looking at doing.
Let me play.
You know.
Let me play this. It
I
says
am that
Kevin.
guy.
It says Kevin Samuels died. Did y'all hear that? I don't know if this is true.
Man,
Samuels is no longer with us. And I want to say RIP to this brother. You may not agree with everything he said, but he was definitely intelligent. So God bless everybody. Peace.
That was
As
Boyce
many of you know,
Watkins.
Kevin Samuels is no longer with us. And I want to say RIP to this brother.
Yeah, that's Boyce Watkins. I don't know if
What
this is.
happened?
I don't know. I don't
He
know if
got
this.
killed by some woman that he told was too fat and she was 38 years old and her pussy ain't gonna be the only thing she got to bring to the table.
I'm gonna look it up.
Man, please tell me somebody didn't kill him.
Hey, bro, my wife was watching one of his, like a couple of his videos in depth, and my wife came to me and she was like, you know, I listened to that guy. He's funny, but she was like, I kind of wonder if he's homosexual. I was like, why you say that? She showed me some video clips of a guy that was laying on a bed behind him in a couple of his videos that the cameraman wasn't supposed to catch, but they caught.
Yeah, no, I think that was something that was actually in his computer, and I don't know
Okay, so quick search on what I found so far. Half of the sites are saying allegedly. It only happened announced a few hours ago, so there's no definite he's dead or not. And it's saying passed away. Kevin Samuels.
Yeah, I'm popping up a bunch of random shit too, so I'm trying to find something that looks decent.
Yeah, I can't find anything I'm willing to go.
Well, honestly, if Boyce Watkins is saying it, like he's supposed to be a reliable source for the black community anyway. But at the same time, like if that's the case, like I'm done with him. Totally.
Try YouTube comedy hype. They may not try to hit you for a thing.
Yeah, no, I can't. I mean, else I'm gonna be knocked off the show.
I'm still searching. I haven't found nothing worth the shit. Hold on, y'all. See if I can find something. I saw couple things, but I don't want to play those. So let me see. But what do y'all think about it if it's true?
I mean, it would be kind of messed up, man. It's like I mean, he's in his 50s. I think he's like 52 years old. Like I ain't gonna lie, I love his content. Like it's great entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, and I mean, because you know the high value man and like all this kind of crap. Like, okay, yeah, there's women who who are gonna be single forever because they make too much money, and they want a guy that makes more money than them. There's only so many, what I'm saying? It's like a certain little diagram of a small amount of men that all these women want. And he's made a fortune on telling women that they're gonna die
There's a
alone.
short, yeah, there
This
you go.
is
Short
I
video
just
from a
saw
small
this right
channel.
here. Look, I just saw it. Can y'all see that? Can you read that on my screen? It says that his death is just a hoax. Supposedly he died of cardiac arrest. Can y'all see that?
No, but just tell us.
He just said
All right,
it.
it says Kevin Samuels, a YouTuber influencer, died of cardiac arrest per several reports on Twitter. However, it is just a death hoax. The 56-year-old Kevin Samuels talks about what he's famous for. So it's saying that this is a hoax. Now, this is a report on ontrend.news.com.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not
And
hearing
this
it on
is
like
as of today at 2:56 a.m., May 6, 2022, 2:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, so this is breaking news. Let me play this video.
Unfortunate news coming out of Atlanta. Social media star and relationship guru Kevin Samuels has reportedly passed away. On Thursday morning, it was reported that Samuels was found unresponsive at his apartment, which would spark rumors of his passing. No official word has come from Samuels or his team addressing the rumors, but upon research, it appears that the at times controversial online star has passed away. Revolt Black News has confirmed from reliable sources. One user would go on to write in Samuel's comments following his most recent post on Instagram, didn't this man just pass away? The question would be followed by another user who would go on to confirm the reports. Yeah, he did this morning. My husband was one of the officers who secured the building he stayed in. Another user would go on to share that Grady Hospital paramedics were on the scene. Several online users immediately wanted to verify if the news was true, including Hot 97 host Ebro, who would go on to ask, did the internet kill Kevin Samuels or is it real? Anyway, it should be said he made broke dudes and women in denial think again about their range. Samuels will mostly be known as an advocate for men and coined the term high-value man, which at times will put a spotlight on his reasons why some women struggle with dating and marriage. At the height of his career, Samuels will go on to gain a following on YouTube with over 1.4 million subscribers and 1.1 million on Instagram. This past February, Samuels would even team up with rapper Future for his music video, Worst Day. Before becoming a relationship guru, Samuels would get his start in men's grooming and fashion, with reviews on men's cologne on his now popular YouTube channel. It appears that in 2017, Samuels would seemingly shift his focus on dating advice. A part of his popularity, Samuels would even become parodied by several comedians, including Affion Crockett, and online personality and comedian Trey Moe. As news of his death began to circulate, many online would share their mixed reactions, given that Samuels would gain his following from his harsh criticism towards certain women who at times would join him on his live stream. At this time, Samuel's cause of death has yet to be confirmed, as many speculate the dating advisor died from cardiac arrest. Stay up to date for the latest news and culture by subscribing here to our YouTube channel.
I don't know.
I don't know, bro.
He says it's been this guy says it's because what's the name of his voice sounds real familiar.
Yeah, that's a popular channel. That was Hype, Hip Hop TV.
Comedy Hype? No, not Comedy.
Yeah, Comedy Hype. Yeah, that's it. Comedy Hype.
Yeah, he says that he confirmed it from reliable sources, so it might be true.
Well, maybe it is true. They saying cardiac. Everything that I read online is showing cardiac. Even through TMZ is showing cardiac arrest.
I put in Samuel and hoax, and a lot's coming up. So I say we wait this out till tomorrow or the next day and look at it again.
It looked like he was when it looked like he was airing earlier tonight. See when was his last video on
Well,
YouTube?
6 hours is the oldest timestamp that I see. 6 or 7 hours is the oldest timestamp that I'm seeing for that he died.
No, what I'm saying is, as far as him uploading a video or like his live stream, usually is around like 10 o'clock or so.
Yeah,
Then
I
he
have.
then
I
he
don't know anything. I really don't know a lot about him, but so I'm doing all this searches from unfamiliarity.
I don't know. I know
you
one
can't.
thing.
Yeah, you can't pull up YouTube from there, can you, Char?
I can. I did. The best that I came up with was the one I just showed y'all.
Yeah, I sent you one that
Yeah,
was like a minute
yeah,
and
because
a
the
half.
reason why my
Where
thing,
it's also news hype, though.
Lord Jesus, have mercy.
It's the same. It's the same company that you showed as the one I sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicki
Well,
Minaj, everything about your body is misleading. Let's be real. But that right there, it was done right.
Dude, there's so much plastic in that body that she's trying to help save the planet all by herself.
LA District Attorney declines felony charges for suspect in Dave Chappelle Hollywood Bowl attack.
Gee,
Say,
I
bro,
wonder why.
hey, I'm gonna tell you, California is the worst place. There was a case. I don't know how long ago this was. This was like right when I started driving, so this had to be like back in 07. Somebody broke in a woman's house. This dude broke in a woman's house. She caught him. He fled the scene, but upon that, he broke in her house with no weapons. He was trying to get a knife out out of her knife drawer, and he cut his fingers, like literally, like I think he severed his pinky finger. When he heard movement in the house, he fled the scene, severed his pinky finger. Do you know he sued her in Los Angeles and won the case? She had to pay him, had to pay for his damages. He broke in her house, bro.
say, bro, shit like that happens all the time, bro. That's why you need to make sure them fuckers is dead. They come in your
Look,
house, make sure.
California's got a flea law, not a stand your ground law. Your responsibility is not to defend your home, but it is to get out of danger. That is the way California laws are. Here, you come in my house, I can shoot your ass. There, you have to, only if you are trapped and cannot escape, can you use force or deadly force against an intruder.
That shit crazy, bro. That's just like the dude that broke into some people's house while they were on vacation.
I don't
They
care
had
what
a
that is.
he that was in, I think that was in California as well. He broke into their house. They had a system set up on their door. Once the garage door closes, you can't open it from inside the garage, like the actual door that leads into the house. So he stayed in the garage. He died. They came home, found him dead. His family sued for that and won millions of dollars against his family.
Damn.
Like, man, I think about a state like California, bro.
Man, look, I don't have no passport to go into California, so I don't worry about it.
Damn.
But yeah, I like Texas and Louisiana. You come into somebody's house, bro. Down here, your ass is good as grass.
Yeah,
But what
but I
about
don't care. I don't care what state I'm in. I honestly, I look, you if you stupid enough to come in my vicinity, you best to
uninvited?
be, man. Say, bro. Look, I mean, like
Like, who is
definitely
you?
definitely
Who
uninvited,
invited? Who invited you up in here? I don't know. I
man.
don't knows you. But what about this? Make comments on this. They say what Deuce read earlier. LA District Attorney declines felony charges for suspect in Dave Chappelle Hollywood Bowl attack. So remember, at first it said felony something, felony assault, I think it was. So like And like I said, and look what's probably gonna happen out of this. This dude is he's gonna get clout and get famous. The guy who got beat up, he's gonna get a light-handed sentence. He's gonna get out of jail. They're gonna probably give him some money, and he's gonna become a celebrity.
I guess.
I don't know, bro. I just feel like our country make it too easy for motherfuckers, bro. Because had that been over in Dubai somewhere, that motherfucker would have got something. Nobody would have said shit.
No.
The thing about it is,
talking about how much they were doing too harsh sentences, and he is also a person of color.
But look, based on investigations so far, it looks like it was an inside job.
Well, yeah. How the hell he get up there?
Yeah, that I haven't heard. You can get around them, but there's a whole lot of what the fuck's going on.
Well, did you see the weapon that they had on them?
Yeah.
No, I saw a picture of it in a meme. I have not seen that confirmed anywhere except in that meme.
Oh. So, but either way,
he's unarmed. That's why it's not a felony.
Yeah. So, and then he's crazy. Clearly, you know what I'm saying? Like he clearly ain't right in the head. So that's another issue there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, how dumb?
But most people, look, most criminals aren't good in the head.
I don't agree with that statement at all. Because people that's in prison, it's not that they're in prison for being stupid. They're in prison for getting caught.
Say, bro, no.
Most of them were in prison because they wanted to be caught.
Bro, look, no. This thing, you just don't realize how this thing gets spun. That one thing can get spun so many different ways because just you thinking that you can get away with crime is insane.
I don't know about that. The United States was built on crime.
Okay, but that's also insane.
Yeah, so sanity in an insane world is being insane. So rob, steal, kill, and pillage.
Well, I mean, thinking that you're sane in an insane world is what?
Rob, stealing, and killing, pillaging, climbing the ladder.
You're still insane. Like, bro, that's don't worry about it. That's fine.
I get it. I get it. I hear you. I hear you. I get it. I hear you. And I'm glad you heard me because what I said was kind of complicated. It was a mind twister.
Well, yeah, man. Say, bro, if that's true with the because I mean, and especially California, because that's where he was at. He was in LA, wasn't he?
When this happened? Oh man, I do not want to lie to you. I don't know that.
Dave Chappelle, I believe he was in LA, and you
Netflix,
know, like that, they
Chappelle, all them. That's Hollywood.
Okay.
LA.
Yeah, Hollywood, LA.
Well, LA Reporter is Hollywood Reporter is the.
But the whole thing.
LA District, Los Angeles. There it is, right there in front of us.
Okay.
Well, I believe they wanted to try to let him know, bitch, you can get touched, and you know they got a bunch of perverted people willing to step up at any moment to let you know.
What if this guy comes out like 6ix9ine or the Catch Me Outside girl, man, and just be like all over the internet and shit after this?
I ain't supporting that shit.
Talking about, yeah, I was the one who rushed Dave Chappelle on the stage. Yeah, you see, I'm free. Yeah, they ain't do nothing to me. See, my arm is okay. Look, yeah. What y'all gonna do now? Yeah. I'm gonna rush somebody else.
And if America, you know, takes this person in and makes them some kind of hero for doing that shit, like, bro, like, I'm liable to, I'm going on a slapping spree.
I'm telling you, that's what I want. I want a little machine, something I could just walk around and just shock people with it. Because it's like, I think people need a little zap every now and then, bruh.
Man, that shit would be, man. The world, I mean, we know the world crazy as hell. I mean, when being, everybody wants to be able to live their truth, but when you live yours, speaking the truth, like not just my truth, when you're speaking the truth, they want to try to, make you criminal because it messes up their whole argument, their whole fight or whatever, their agenda. It messes up their agenda. So now they want to hurt somebody because they believe a certain way too. Like, bro,
And that's my argument for this
is
whole
America.
week.
They're trying to make physical violence be acceptable over words.
Yes.
They've been preaching that this was not cool all along, but they're trying to make it cool now.
It's chaos. It's going backwards. And what I was saying,
actually mounting toward, I've been seeing now civil war. Now they're mounting toward physical aggression over words is acceptable in public and high-end circumstances. What do you think that's going to bleed down to the next few protests
levels,
and
the
riots?
lower levels?
Especially with these Antifa fuckers who they're not really.
So, but what you're
they're actually anarchists. They're not anti-fascist.
So maybe that is what it is, and then I'm confused because then who are the anarchists? But back to what Pat is saying, I think that goes with the theme of what I'm trying to cover this week is the creating of the other, is creating the immigrant, creating the Muslim other. You know what I'm saying? Someone to blame.
It's ironic that the number one immigrant made somebody else an immigrant.
Yeah. So that's exactly what it is. Let me I want to play this clip because this is funny. I don't know if y'all seen this meme before, but it's funny to me anyways.
Calling corporate, it's about the only thing less effective than prayer.
Hold on.
This is ridiculous. I'm calling corporate. Call them. Corporate doesn't actually do anything. They're like the elf on the shelf. Calling corporate, it's about the only thing less effective than prayer. You know what they'll do? They'll call here and we'll have a good laugh about how stupid you sound.
That's funny as hell.
Because that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. Like,
I need that video, bro. You need to send me that.
it's like they just gonna call you and be like, "Let me tell you what this bitch is saying, bro." I'm gonna share it on my. Let me see. I don't know if you'll pop up.
Messenger?
No, because I'm on here. I can't do that. I'm on the computer. So, let me see. I think if I say it to my oh wait, I found you. Wait, it's two of you though. You got two different ones popped up. You got two different Instagrams. You got an old Instagram you don't use no more.
Hey guys, I'm gonna check out of here, bro. I gotta go do a wellness with my doctor in the morning. I need to get some rest so I don't fail horribly in the morning.
All right, man. Get you some rest, man.
Yeah,
Get your breathing. Make sure you
check up.
Make sure you get your breathing under control before you go in there.
Yeah,
In your nose, out your mouth.
Yeah, I feel you.
And water.
Yeah, I ain't gonna drink no coffee in the morning. I'm not gonna eat anything. I'm gonna just drink plenty of water and all that crap. And
my doctor took me totally off of coffee. I can't have no coffee.
I stopped drinking coffee some years ago already.
You know
bro,
what?
that was like a ritual for me, bro.
I
Can
drink
I tell
tea.
y'all this? Like honestly, bro, like I have literally limited my coffee like so low to I only have it when I wake up in the mornings here at the house on my day and a half off,
Well,
but
screw
or
both of
2 days
y'all.
off. You know,
Screw
I only
the.
have it then.
I don't
So
do
here,
But
coffee. I haven't drunk coffee in a long ass
like
time.
when I'm on the road,
I felt
I
it.
don't drink coffee, bro.
I
Like I'll
felt
wake
what it
up and
does.
drink water.
I felt what it does to me. Like I felt the.
Coffee is good for you though.
No,
It's
it's
good
not.
no,
for
it's
Not for
you.
my
not.
heart. Not for my heart. I can feel
No,
it.
no. They said
It's
like it's
good in other
coffee.
ways.
They said coffee is ruining my liver.
Oh. I know my doctor. I was seeing this one doctor, like, right. He was on to like this whole holistic deal or whatever, and I never did it, but I know a couple of female friends of mine that did it, but I never did it because I just couldn't imagine me doing that shit to myself. But basically, brewing coffee, right? Fresh, like you go and you get like dark, the beans or whatever, freshly ground, and you brew it, and then you let it cool, to like room temperature cool, and use it as a like an enema, a coffee enema, like once a month. And there's supposed to be like a bunch of health benefits for your whole colon system.
Yeah, I don't
I
know about all
But
I
that.
think
I couldn't imagine me doing that shit to
I,
myself, bro.
I
That's
think
just like I have
coffee.
a friend that go and get like this
I
oil
think coffee.
enema
You can
shit.
use it outside of your body
That's
and for
so
good
that,
reasons.
that's so 2010s. Now it's holding your butthole up to the sun, man. That's how you do it.
What?
he say he say he say that coffee enema shit was like 2010, but now it's holding your butthole up to the sun.
Oh damn.
Oh, shit,
Yeah.
nigga in the window, spread his ass cheeks. Come on, son, come on out.
Well, I guess I mean all of us need our vitamin D. You know what I'm saying? So
One way or another.
Shit.
Can't judge him on how
Nah.
he receive his
if I
vitamin
if I
D.
ever if I ever see anybody with like like in my like say, bro, that Doc, you wrong for that, bro, because like that gave me such a horrible visual, man.
This nigga got his ass. This nigga got his ass in the. This nigga driving down the highway, but his ass is planted into his damn window and shit.
Man, that's horrible, bro.
Oh, shit.
Stupid,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, bro. I gotta get out of here, man. Y'all motherfuckers is insane.
Put your ass up to the sun. God damn.
That nigga said that is so 2010. The coffee thing is so 2010 now.
That's that direct vitamin
Oh
D.
shit! Now we want.
You heard of people who drink
Now
beer
we.
through their butthole? They drink beer through they take shots through their butthole.
Nah,
Hey,
chill.
now we
Hey,
figure
that
out
way you get it
why
straight to the
Chaka got
source,
to get.
right?
Now we see why
The only
Chaka got
thing
to
that
get
I've really
tired.
heard
Chaka, you practicing
straight
that
guys
shit, bro?
look, the only thing I've heard straight guys talk about messing around with their booty hole is putting ecstasy pills in their butt. And I'm like, that's weird. That was like the weirdest thing I heard. This right here, like,
Is putting
even though I
what?
know
I missed that.
X pills.
I don't know.
X pills
Get
in your
Oh
get
yeah,
Curtis.
no.
This is what we need Curtis in here for him to go
that
crazy. Man, fuck
Exit,
that.
exit, man. It just, yeah, it may sound cool, but no.
well, no, I don't know. Like, I've never tried it because, like,
I can't see myself going for that one either.
yeah, I mean,
Bro,
well,
I
I
heard
don't
a
see.
story.
I'm a long way
You
from doing drugs like I used to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hey Pat, you know the
popping
show
pills, snorting
Dateline?
coke, and all that other shit. That's like way behind
Have
me.
y'all? I'm
Even I
sure.
don't even smoke pot anymore. So
I'm sure y'all heard of the show Dateline, bro. There was a lady that like literally they were trying to convict her, but they wasn't able to. but her husband, he had some type of throat cancer, so he would talk like a robot, and he wanted alcohol one day, and so he was on a feeding tube. But anyway, he asked her to take one of his feeding tube contractions and pour vodka through it, put it in his ass and pour vodka. Well, it was a little bit too much and it killed him. He died. And bruh, hey man, people gotta like that's some dangerous shit, bro. That's like if you gotta like for real, man, because I be hearing these dudes at the job, bro, that's be because a lot of these dudes I work with, they ex oil field workers. And they talking about how these chicks in the oil field, like they'll put like a line of coke in her ass crack, and she want it all day up that, up the backside. Because man, that's some dangerous shit, bro.
But see, when I was coming up, a lot of that shit was like embarrassing. Like like I say embarrassing, but like that's not something you just freaking just do, and it's like, oh look, hey look, you got somebody that you want to like putting coke in your ass crack, and like if somebody's sniffing it off of your like.
How did we
they
get
putting it in their asshole, bro?
Man, how did we?
In their ass?
How did
Chaka
we get?
started this shit.
How did we
He was
get
talking
here,
about
bro?
putting his ass.
Bruh.
Chaka and Doc was talking about putting their ass in the
I'm
side.
sorry. There is no way you gonna get me to sniff coke off of a lot lizard's butt.
A lot lizard.
Off of an oil. I don't know what they call them in the oil field.
Oh.
That's a different term.
Man, let's get off the buttholes, please.
Hey, bro, I'm just wondering, is that why you need new tires every couple of weeks? You trying to put your ass in the sun?
I
Dude,
guess.
I'm 54. If I tried to bend that way, they'd be calling the emergency room on my ass.
Hey, man, what Curtis at? This is where we need Curtis to interject. Motherfucker, are y'all crazy? No, fuck that. Listen to what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to fuck with him.
Let me. Hey, y'all check this.
No. Where's Jay Lethal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Masturbation is not murder because it's a known scientific fact that a man needs to masturbate at least 23 times a month to prevent prostate cancer.
I heard them saying that. I don't think that's true.
Well,
but check this.
Neither me nor my next generation will be getting prostate cancer.
I don't think that's
caught
true.
Up to both of them.
I heard that, but I don't think it's true. Look at the meme though. It's the guy. He's coming out of the XXX Entertainment place, and then it's like some women, and they look like they're protesting. They're holding up signs. They got a bullhorn. One of them has a sign that says "Life begins at erection." The other one has a sign that says "Masturbation is murder."
Well, I don't know. You can't tell a young boy that at 13 years old when he realizes what that hard on is.
You can't tell a grown man that.
Yep.
Shit.
Yeah. Because if my wife don't want it, I may just put it on her stomach. Fuck it.
Hey.
No child left behind. It's on her belly.
And look, if she didn't do the right thing with it, then that's on her.
That's on her. I put it on her belly. Close enough.
I want to read some of the comments under this meme. Somebody what happened? We lost your doc. It says device not connected. I can't put you back in. I want to read the comments underneath this. Hold on, pressing too many buttons. First comment, it says, I'm about to start a life right now. Another person says, well said, says, they don't want to have this conversation though. Another one says, what about all the wasted eggs that were not fertilized, all the potential lives lost? Do pro-life women ever think about this? It says, I call my wife accountable all the time.
Oh, damn.
Another one says, I support this message. And then another one says, would that make periods killing too? The fuck is the point of this? Another one.
It
Go
really
ahead.
is. It really is pointless. My bad. Like, yeah, my mic is on top of my head. But I mean, it really is pointless. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they come up with these different arguments just to, you know, trying to steer the conversation away from, away from women, and I guess to put men under some form of attack. But like, you really gonna like miss the whole mark and what is really happening. Like, you know, there's this window of time that you're trying to divert the conversation to something that's senseless. Like, you're wasting time. You could be working on something that's actually gonna fix something for whatever situation that our outcome that you want to see. I mean, it's just insane to me that I mean, I understand that this is like, this is being funny, like somebody's trying to be funny or whatever, but for those who are really taking stuff like this serious, because there's somebody, there's a group of people somewhere that's really entertaining this,
Right.
and it's just
No,
like,
there are several religions that this is. If you do not ejaculate into a woman, you are transgressing against God. Early
okay,
Christianity used to be that way.
it's not anymore.
Some
Well, I guess
do,
it
some
depends on what.
don't.
I guess it depends on what.
I find it less of a belief now than it was when I was in my teens. I mean, everything is moving toward the left. It really is when you think about it that way. Everything. The world is moving toward the left, and that is a good thing. It's just some people are trying to want to push it over the damn cliff instead of build a foundation so we can get a bridge over that damn cliff.
Yeah.
Well,
because the next stage is on the other side of that shit, and you can't get there unless we build a good foundation.
Yeah, and they trying to jump there, hurry up, in transhumanism and bionic arms.
Hey, I'm all good with bionic arms and things, replacement limbs and stuff like that. That is awesome. The more people don't have to live with something like that, the better I feel.
Look at this. It says Texas lawmakers consider the death penalty for abortion. And they say, so pro-life, they kill you. Look how ridiculous that sounds. Texas lawmakers consider the death penalty for abortion. So
I have not heard that anywhere, and I am all up on Texas shit because I am also a follower of the Texas separationist movement.
yeah, I'm not gonna confirm it, but let's just speculate the idea of it. Texas lawmakers consider the death penalty for abortion. So if they're giving you the death penalty for having an abortion, they're killing you because you killed your baby.
pretty much.
Nah, bro, I don't see them doing that shit, bro. And then for them to put Fox News 5 DC, how can we believe another news outlet? I don't know. I ain't seen that shit, and there's been a lot of things hitting Twitter about this whole Roe versus Wade.
Well, it's not like our mainstream media is against propaganda or even telling bold-faced lies. Like, that's a part of their job.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all. We be ahead of the curve on a lot of these news stories because I be seeing people cover stuff after we covered it already.
But what they not talking about, like, is the shit is still on Greg Abbott's desk to sign the paperwork of the state of Texas unjoining the union. Like, we're on the brink of it. There's a lot of people that's frustrated and mad at him.
There, but it has to be ratified by I think 75% of the Texas state. Okay.
Yeah.
The guy that's the president of the Separatist Union is Daniel Miller. He is a friend of mine from high school, and I'm trying to talk to him to get him to come on the show one day. But the thing is, I don't know. I need to talk to him about it first because I think we all should hear what he's got to say, just because it would be a great show, and some of his followers might hang on once in a while. But yeah, and we were talking about Texas history. Don't hit him with all that shit if he gets here. Let him do his spiel and thing, and then we invite him back to do the history and the racial history of Texas, if you know what I mean. But I'm gonna try to get him. I'm talking to him. He doesn't normally function at this time of night, but I think if I can get him as a guest, if you're cool with it, I will.
I'm cool with anybody. As long as we can have respectful conversations.
The president of the Texas Separation Movement.
Yeah, I'm cool with whoever.
Daniel Miller. Look him up and actually say, hey, I'm a friend of Chris, Doc Paul, Doc from, you knew him back in Longview. He mentioned me to you. I'm a small creator. I mean, the worst he could do is say no to you. If he says no to you, I will turn around and talk to him. Because I've already said something about, hey, I'm on a little radio show or on a little podcast.
Well, type his name in the group chat and I'll have it.
Daniel Miller. It's pretty easy. It's about as white as it can get.
I ain't my suck. I'm a visual. I have to see it.
All right.
And I suck at names too.
It's going in private chat.
Fucking what was I gonna say? Cinco de Mayo. Do y'all celebrate Cinco de Mayo? That just happened. Did y'all know it was Cinco de Mayo? Well, not anymore, but it was a few hours ago.
Yeah, having lived in Houston since '92, I call that white boy stay in the house day.
Something crazy always happens at one of those bars and shit.
Me and Tequila aren't friends either, so, despite what you guys saw the other day.
Yeah. It's weird how Americans, United States, they adopt everybody else's holidays and shit. A reason for a United States or American to celebrate is like, we don't give a damn whose holiday, what it was, why, what for, whatever. Or it's Cinco de Mayo. We're supposed to have tequila on this today. Okay, I'm down. Let's go.
We can drink, eat ethnic foods, and drink and eat ethnic foods. Bring it on.
Yeah. So
I want an African holiday. I want a Jamaican holiday.
That'd be nice.
Brazilian holiday. Scottish, Irish. Let's give everybody a freaking holiday.
Hell yeah.
There's like that. 223 countries in the world in 365 days of the year.
And then we can learn about other cultures that way. Because you could, like, on the African Day, you could eat susu or something. Or some other kind of food, or you know what I mean?
Well,
yeah, that would be cool.
There we go. I just introduced a possible way to go toward world peace.
There we go,
man. We are trying to come to solutions on this show.
Yes, I'm going to use that as a clip, too. I want to play a little bit of this. I know I'm losing y'all, but this is only 29 seconds.
Well, it is Cinco de Mayo. It's a tradition in the U.S. where people, of course, eat tacos, burritos, and drink lots of margaritas. But the holiday has become more popular in the U.S. than it actually was in Mexico. The origin of Cinco de Mayo marks Mexico's victory over the French in Puebla on May 5th, 1862. It was a minor battle. The French took the territory back a year later. Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day. That is on September 16th. And if you actually go to Mexico outside Puebla, not much is going on today.
Yeah, so it's basically they're saying it's just us that really celebrates it.
It's a battle, not the war.
And even though it has become like an American holiday. She said in the clip that we celebrate it more than they do.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so Americans and our reason to celebrate, it's shoot, we'll take a reason to celebrate. We don't care what it was for. It was like, what was the original reason why we did this shit? I don't know. Shit, pass the tequila.
Absolutely. Man, we need something that involves a bourbon day.
I think we should have a go to the park day.
Go to the park and drink bourbon day. I'm good with that.
Yeah, so when was the last time any of y'all went to the park, bro? I went to the park yesterday, so I get to be sitting on my high horse.
Define park.
It don't have to be a major park, just a park where like it where it has a walking area and stuff like that, grass.
Bark park?
No, not a dog park would work because that works because you have to walk around the dog park.
About a month or so then. 2. Yeah, about 2.
Yeah. So like we all should do that more, it's an opportunity to get some sunlight, get some fresh air. Y'all know that we breathe a lot of polluted air. Sometimes when they be talking about pollution, they're not talking about the air outside. They're talking about the air inside, where you be inside of office buildings, inside your home, inside your car, where,
Dude, we live in South Texas. One of the biggest things that most people don't realize is if you've been in your house for more than a year or two, you have black mold in your air conditioning vents. Period in the statement. That's like roaches. If you are here, you have them. You just have to learn how to not let them get worse.
Yeah, that mold shit is scary. I ain't even gonna lie. I don't even want to talk about that because that is very, very scary. Because I think that a lot of respiration diseases, asthma, and a bunch of shit, our lifestyles is what causes a lot of this stuff, And like I be saying all the time, we live unnaturally. One thing is these damn boxes, the squareness of the buildings that we live in. You think about the Aboriginal peoples, they didn't build like this, with these squares and with all these angles and shit. And then the other thing is the sunlight, because but when you move into a really nice building or a nice house, whatever, the nicer the buildings are, they tend to have better windows, the kind of windows that the sun shines through no matter what. Like they have these kind of ceilings. Y'all know what I'm talking about. High windows and the like ceilings that let the sun shine through them. You know what I'm saying? That's how you know you're in a really nice building, because these buildings, these boxes they got us in, and these sideways ass windows, half the times we don't even get no sunlight in our windows. If you live like in an apartment, then you only get sunlight for like a couple hours out of the day, whichever couple of hours that the sun tends to be facing that window. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, man. So go to the park, walk around, get some sunlight. Or just go lay in the grass in the park. They're saying he was a Trump supporter.
Go back up there to the 2 pictures of the supposed weapon.
Yeah, they're saying he's a Trump supporter. That's weird. It says the person who attacked Dave Chappelle was a Trump supporter, a MAGA rapper. I said it before, I will say it again. MAGA is terrorism.
Oh my God.
So, is there another clip of this? No, somebody just did a screenshot of this off of somewhere else.
Well, I'm looking at it and trying to see. It looks to me like there's Photoshop involved?
Like it's a knife that's like it's a gun that's sitting on top of a knife. Like the knife is sitting on top of the gun.
Left one. Okay, see the scratches on the plate that it's on. Look at those and the dents and things like that as compared to the other one.
Yeah.
It really looks like both of them look like they have been computer generated over that surface. And nothing says he was armed. No reports, nothing except that picture and those pictures.
It seemed like you would see some kind of attachment, right? Because I've never seen a gun like this. So where's the attachment
a gun
for the
like
knife?
that, it would be either an under or an over attachment. It would not be a side attachment.
Right.
Because the side attachment would fuck up the slide.
Yeah. So I ain't gonna lie.
Actually, a knife like that, I'm gonna tell you the truth. The only way you could do a knife like that on a pistol,
you gotta tape it
underslung.
Okay.
It would have to be mounted, glued, welded, whatever on the bottom, because if you put it on the top, it moves with the slide. As you fire the gun, or the pistol. I'm trying not to get you freaking kicked here. There's no way that would work. Where does it mount? Is it mounted to the bottom part underneath the slide? If so, there would be blast marks, carbon scoring on the side of the knife.
And I ain't gonna lie, what you talking
you don't
about
build something like that and not pop a round or two off, because damn, that's cool.
But they said the gun was fake though, and you could clear see in the picture that trigger.
Who said the gun was? I've only heard gun from these memes.
They said it was like a plastic gun with a knife attached to it. So
but again, from the memes, I haven't heard it from a reliable source yet.
Oh, okay. And even in this picture, it looks like how if you had the gun just sitting on a knife, and you took the picture like that.
That's what I'm saying. That can only be side mounted to the bottom underneath the slide. That's not anywhere kind of realistic, practical, or even crazy dude build it.
Yeah, because with both pictures, it looks like it's just a gun sitting on a knife. The plastic gun sitting on a knife.
Okay.
Yep. Like I say, I feel like we're seeing real life skits happen right in front of us.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
What happened in Ukraine? Why David was getting tackled? What happened in Congress in the last 2 or 3 days? Not hearing a word.
Chauvin got sentenced 20 to 25. I thought this had already happened.
What was going through your head when you had your knee on my brother's neck? What were you thinking? What was going through your head when you had your knee on my brother's neck? What were you thinking?
It says 20 to 25 years. This is not old. I thought this was old. Wait, let me go back to this. It says Nigerian scientist discovers novel antibiotic for drug-resistant infections.
I hope so.
Yeah, will it make it out? It says man cited after TSA agents find 23 weapons packed inside carry-on bag. Knives, disposable scalpels, brass knuckles were removed from the luggage.
Looks like a bag full of some guy that went to a convention and bought a bunch of friggin' stuff.
Yeah.
He should have shipped that.
Yeah. He was just a dumbass and he was trying to sneak it on. Yeah.
Of course, since it didn't say his color or anything like that,
it was probably a white guy. Yeah. That's the same thing I was thinking too. Yeah, you know it was a white guy. But it was just a regular ass person, so there goes that same picture. It's the same picture. You wonder why there isn't more of
and see, that's even
different
better.
angles.
See what I mean? How can that be mounted? Because the slide, when you pull the trigger on that, it's going to go back. All that's going to flash down the side of that knife. Is the knife going to go back with it, or is it mounted to the lower part? Which means it's not very stable, which means you stab it, it's going to freaking break off anyway. Not that I know much about weapons or anything like that. I'm just.
But and why is this
guessing?
Why is this the only picture that we have of this? It's the same picture. That's a good question.
Dixie.
They're doing real life skits in front of us, man. It's crazy.
Thank you.
I'm about to wrap it soon. I'm getting tired. I'm gonna go on to a little bit more about the. Wait, hold on. Let me check it. I think I have it. Let's see. What I didn't cover. If y'all watched any of the videos that I sent, we talked about Roe versus Wade. We talked about the Muslims. Elon Musk versus Big Pharma. I was thinking about Russell Brand.
I'm staying away from conversations about Islam and Muslim because I don't want to get hacked again.
All right. Well, this is gonna be the last topic right here. A little bit about Elon Musk versus Big Pharma. Russell Brand was talking about it here. Let me play a bit.
Nutrient ain't no good and should be took off the market, whereas psychedelics are good. So is Elon Musk now taking on Big Pharma? Hello there, you 5.6 million wonders, you awakening miracles, you great soulmates of mine. Let us voice. Have you turned on the notification bell? You ought to. Have you listened to everything Elon Musk said and have you replaced your thoughts with Elon Musk's thoughts? Like, Elon Musk is in a unique position now. Elon Musk is in all our phones, in all our hearts, in all our lives. He is regarded as distinct and separate from your everyday billionaire because he's a provocateur. He's a raconteur. He's a storyteller. He's a joker. He's a mischief maker. He is still a billionaire, and I'm sure that there are many challenges, economic ones and stuff to do with power dynamics, that are incumbent within that status. But for now, Elon Musk has bought Twitter and he promises to make it a place where people can speak freely. I believe that's a good thing, even though I know that will mean I'm subjected to opinions and tweets, I suppose, I'm not into. But isn't your life always sort of a bit like that? And also, he is now confronting or taking on Big Pharma. Well, what a fascinating development that is, because Elon Musk, perhaps uniquely in the world, can say something and then affect share prices sort of overnight. Is Elon Musk the closest thing to Trump that Twitter's had since it banned Trump? And what is Twitter going to do now that Trump Mark II owns Twitter? You can't ban the boss, can you? Let's see what he said. Let's see whether what he said is true or not. And let's see if you agree with it. Because this is the other thing, is that a lot of the anti-Elon Musk arguments don't make sense. You know the arguments already. He's a billionaire. He owns a tech platform. All tech platforms are owned by billionaires and also by some people that seem a little more nefarious than Elon Musk. Drat. All right. Elon Musk, though, he shouldn't be able to criticize Big Pharma. They're our friends. opioid crisis. Let's see what he's done and said this time. Elon Musk was hit with pushback. They always do that, don't they? They always report on the pushback. There's been some pushback. Like, that already shows you that there's a perspective at play here. Elon Musk was hit with pushback after tweeting on Friday that the antidepressant Wellbutrin is way worse than Adderall and should be taken off the market. Now, the fact that Elon Musk has got so much power that when he says something like that, it's significant, might affect market value. I don't know, man. What does that mean? That Elon Musk has got to play by a certain set of rules, and then who decides what those rules are? And what does Twitter become if your expectation is that he monitors it in accordance with the principles of the previous owners, and then everything he says should be subject to a set of criteria that I'm not even sure that I understand yet? What's wrong with him saying that? Musk said, every time that drug has come up in conversation, someone at the table has a suicide or near suicide story, he added. I suppose what's funny is that Elon Musk's dinner time chats can influence the news cycle. Musk's initial comment was tweeted in response to an excerpt from a 2016 New York Times Magazine feature titled Generation Adderall, a story about Adderall abuse and withdrawal. Musk also opined on the effectiveness of psychedelics and other plant-based substances as treatments for mental health-related issues, tweeting, I've talked to many more people who were helped by psychedelics and ketamine than SSRIs and amphetamines. Well, what that is an opinion. And even in the tweet, he's saying I spoke to people at a dinner party and things like that. He's not saying I conducted a medical study of 1,000 different participants. You know, I mean, he's saying this is an opinion. So is he allowed an opinion? That's up to you. Comment below. Is Elon Musk allowed to have opinions? Now, you know, he's a billionaire. He's super rich. He owns Twitter now. Does that mean he's not allowed opinions? Let's recognize that Elon Musk's opinions have more weight, freight, power, influence than mine or yours. But does that mean he's not allowed to have them? I don't know. And if you do believe that, if what your concern is hold on a minute, power is getting too centralized in the case of Elon Musk, then that means you've got a metric by which you judge too much power. So then you've got to apply that everywhere. What about Jeff Bezos? What about Bill Gates? What about the president of the United States? What there's all sort of, the president of the United States, he was elected. Okay. Like you've got to start applying that metric everywhere. You can't just say, which is what I believe is happening, I don't like that person. I want them to shut up. If they agreed with me, I would like them. I have all sorts of people that I don't agree with. I have even more that disagree with me, vocally, verbally. And if I could just stop them, yeah, maybe I would, but I can't, and I accept that. Like, this shows you what kind of media biases we're talking about, because rather than reporting on the point Elon Musk is making, are psychedelics more effective than many of the sanctioned drugs that Big Pharma puts out? That's the question he's posing, isn't it? Instead, they report on the pushback. There's been a pushback. There was a pushback the other day. And what does that tell you? That the big media and Big Pharma and the government are in alliance, not in some sort of way, but just in there'll be people on the boards of big media that are on the boards of Big Pharma that have held government office, and the whole thing is accepted to be sort of a network of nodes of interconnected and mutually supportive interests. Otherwise, you would say, as we are going to say now, is Elon Musk right? Are psychedelics more effective than Big Pharma drugs? Let's consider that together. Rick Doblin, founder and executive of the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. In May 21, Nature Medicine published the results of the most advanced trial of psychedelic therapy to date. In our phase 3 trial of MDMA-assisted therapy for PTSD, 88% of participants who received MDMA in conjunction with trauma-focused therapy experienced a clinically significant reduction in symptoms. Well, that's very impressive. That's some information that's worthwhile. It's a clinical trial. It's a study. That's data. That's not just Elon Musk said a thing. I don't like it. Why don't Elon Musk agree with me? I could invent a car, 67% of participants no longer met criteria for a PTSD diagnosis. Many participants reported MDMA-assisted therapy helped them address the root cause of their trauma for the first time. These are interesting conversations. There are a lot of sick people in the world. I know this because I'm one of them. There's a lot of people that have been damaged by life. We need new solutions where the priority is the efficacy of the medicine rather than the profitability of the medicine. Don't you feel that again and again in our public discourse, in the conversations around Big Pharma, around the lack of trust around Big Pharma, the bloody lawsuits, the opioid crisis, all this stuff? So therefore, Elon Musk's question and inquiry, is it a bad thing or is it a bloody helpful thing? Even if he's wrong, wouldn't you like to see more studies for alternative medicines that are perhaps have less negative side effects, that might not be as profitable, but might be more effective? Hit me up in the comments below. What do you want to know? Can you think of anything recently about treatments and medicines that might have been effective that were closed down? Ketamine studies have shown promise for chronic suicidal tendencies, PTSD symptoms, and depression. Legal ketamine clinics, which pair therapy with the drug, can play a key role in maximizing the benefits and reducing the risks of the psychedelic experience. Psilocybin-assisted therapy is a breakthrough therapy for depression. Well, there we are. This is exactly the kind of conversation we should be having. So is Elon Musk irresponsible for making that point and using his platform to generate conversation? In fact, 4 separate systematic reviews have been published this year highlighting the potential of psychedelic-assisted therapies for those conditions and more. Conversely, the well-documented devastation of war on drugs has been responsible for untold trauma. Over the last 5 years, medicinal psychedelics have made incredible strides in the face of strict regulations and stigma. What is the function of stigma? It's a type of taboo. It prevents you from exploring something with an open mind. That's what a stigma is. Think of the things that have been stigmatized in the past: interracial sex, same-sex marriages, stigmatized, prevented from being discussed. When something is stigmatized, you can't investigate it properly and openly. Does anyone benefit from particular types of stigmas and taboos? Hit me up in the comments. Meanwhile, existing drug therapies for depression, addiction, and PTSD have failed to produce real and lasting results. Right, well, there you go. So not only is it a worthwhile conversation, even if he's wrong, not only is he entitled to having an opinion because he's a person, but in this case, it seems like he's got a point. Roughly 2/3 of US veterans suffering from PTSD have reported dissatisfaction with current treatments. 2/3 of Americans with depression don't even bother with treatment because common medications are largely ineffective. Antidepressants take weeks or months to kick in, if they do at all. Even then, they come with a daunting list of side effects and also add to the risk of addiction. That's been my experience with antidepressants. I've not taken them for a long, long time, decades. But I've always felt like, oh God, it's going to take months before the bloody thing kicks in. Stuff that's, I don't know, more natural or experimental or just advanced pharmacology. These sorts of things I think will be interesting. Speaking as a person that suffered from mental health issues from childhood, certainly through adolescence and early adulthood, these are the kind of solutions that perhaps could have made my life a little different. But it gets worse. Antidepressants like Trintellix come with a warning for suicidal thoughts and actions. Bloody hell, that's not an ideal side effect of an antidepressant. So do Zoloft and Xanax, both addictive medications. These treatments are meant to ease depression and anxiety, not exasperate them. And conventional drugs like these come with a life sentence of permanent use.
Permanent use.
Well, I suppose that would be a benefit if you were like selling those things. We might imagine that Big Pharma would invest more in more effective humane treatments for mental illness. But in reality, multinational pharmaceutical companies appear to have abandoned forward movement on mental health treatments altogether. Right, so there's a financial component to it. The controversy around Musk's tweet now appears to have an origin that may be financial in nature. Generic competition has strengthened to the point where earnings for the firms that make these drugs are a shadow of the past. By 2019, the worldwide sales of the antidepressant market leaders will be half of that achieved in 2004. They are also controversial and expensive to research. Some of the bigger industry players decided it was easier to make money in oncology or diabetes, and so they weren't investing, says Harry Tracy. That's the wrong attitude, isn't it? Isn't medicine supposed to be about healing and helping people, or is medicine and Big Pharma about profits? What does your experience tell you? What have you learned in life? What have you been shown? What does that tell you that they stop research if the area is not profitable? It shows you that it's for profit. Okay, then. So now what can we discern about the mentality, the mindset, and the systems behind it? It's greedy, and they're not going to research more effective products. And in fact, they're going to resent and oppose potential competition if it's cheaper, less profitable, natural. All sorts of things can be, if not assumed, certainly imagined as a result of that piece of information. Harry Tracy, whose newsletter Neuro Perspective tracks developments in drug treatments for psychiatric problems. Why would they choose not to invest in proven psychedelic therapeutic medicines? The reason is that Big Pharma has little actual interest in curing people. A minimal dosage, long-term effective treatment model for mental health disorders would mean losing the cornerstone of their business, returning customers. They like people sick. Huge pharmaceutical corporations rely on sick people remaining sick to their own detriment. In addition, Big Pharma is also facing a patent cliff as many of their patents are starting to expire. With no new development for mental health treatments, the industry is losing revenue, customers, and public confidence. I hope I'm not naive about Elon Musk. I don't imagine that he's some kind of billionaire, Tony Stark, Jesus figure. I know him to be a human being with assets and flaws like all human beings. But with the recent stories around Musk, whether it's his purchase of Twitter and his commitment to free speech or his willingness to openly confront big pharma in the area of mental health, it seems that there is at least some legitimacy to the things that Elon Musk has said. Plus, you know, he's gone to space, invented an electric car, and he likes this channel. So,
yeah. So comments. I think you did a great job on covering that topic. And the same thing I'm be saying all the time about the profit model in healthcare is a big problem with the healthcare. So if the pharmaceutical companies are only about making more and more profit, then they're not going to be making products that's good for the health of the people. So it's really simple. So that's where socialism comes in, because you need to take the private. Everything can't be private like that. Everything can't be corporate. If it has to do with like people's health and stuff that people need, like they say, utilities, right? Utilities. Your health is a utility, right? That should be a utility.
Yeah, and it should be at the top of the list. But I mean, it's not. I think like one of the things that like they'll maybe do some testing on, which a lot of doctors and scientists already know that what what Elon is saying is true. There's my mic. So a lot of doctors and scientists know that what Elon Musk is saying is true. It's just that they know if that's done on a wider range where like people practice it more and it's not shunned, talked down about, or make negative talk about it, like because it opens up different portals of your brain that you won't normally. You know what I'm saying? You probably should be at a certain age before you start doing it, but it definitely makes your brain open up. And I think people end up being smarter after doing it. You know what I'm saying? Honestly,
Yeah, well, they're talking about dealing with mental health issues, but actually curing them instead of giving them drugs they got to take every day for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Well, that and that probably will help too, because like I said, I mean, because you see chemical imbalance may be meaning not because you don't have the right chemicals, it's just that it's not flowing correctly. Maybe there's a blockage.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of trips on some acid or whatever, some shrooms, clear that right up.
I think it's possible, and I think that at this point in our world, we shouldn't be overlooking anything. Like, I mean, we've gone so many years without having marijuana, which is beneficial in so many different ways for people. Like, really leaving the other things, like just like ignoring these other things as if they just, because I mean these were things that was like for ancient communities, these were rituals that they would do like even in ancient times. So it's not like it's really something new. It's just that people have demonized it and made it as if it was, because they knew like that was something that it made it in more in touch with the world, with God, the universe, or however you want to look at that. Like it made you closer to nature, so to speak. But I don't know, man. I think that's something that you don't ever want to overlook. Like anything that's on this planet potentially can be used for good.
Yeah, man, and we know that the natural ways are the best ways. It's just that they can't find ways to charge you for that stuff. If it's just some cinnamon and turmeric and ginger, you know what I'm saying, and some sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
and a song or a vibration, a hymn.
But most people don't realize that's why most things got demonized is because corporations couldn't patent those things. Because if they could patent those things, you would have been getting them already at a charge.
Sunlight, some fresh water, like some water out of a stream or something. A hike in the woods with some fresh air, open up your lungs.
Yep.
That's the kind of prescriptions that the doctors need to be giving people.
I totally agree.
Be like, go fishing or something, Go sit out on the lake.
This is why I gotta change my lifestyle, do something different, because like based on my structure, like everything that I do day to day, like they said, like I need like 2 hours of sunlight every day. Like what can I what what kind of job can I do to do that? Like I need to get into construction or some shit. But
I don't know. Try to make up for it on the days that you're not driving and spend a whole bunch of time outside in the sun.
Shit, what days is that?
Yeah, I understand.
I'm trying to figure out let's see. Yeah, those days don't exist right now. But I mean, even if like my thing too, the weather changes so much, and depending on where I am, because I mean, I'm the places where I am. It might be sunny today. I might be off, could be off on Saturday, but where I end up after tomorrow, the weather might be horrible, no sunlight at all. But
yeah, real thick rain came through here just a little while ago. I got pretty wet too. Around 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'm about to wrap it.
Yeah, I would say I definitely need to get on out of here myself.
Yep, it's a lot of memes that saying Kevin Samuels is no longer with us.
And that's kind of shocking to me. Like I mean, I listen to his show, riding down the road, you know what I'm saying? The shit is hilarious. Like a lot of times it's like it's funny as hell, you know. Women actually call in and for him to pretty much tell them, okay, if you're not gonna change, or you can't marry an average dude because what your income is. All right, well, fucking go and die alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Sad.
But I wonder if it's the the stress of running the show that's giving them because he said cardiac arrest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doing a show every night for the last 3 years, I guess it's been 2 years for sure.
I don't think he goes on every night.
Yeah, he does.
7 nights a week?
Well, Monday through Friday, and then he does Instagrams and stuff in the middle of the day sometimes. Like like if you want 5 days a week, you want every day.
Yeah, that's every day. Yeah, that's every day. Yeah, shit. This 4 days a week I do is feels like every day. Shit.
You ain't lying. I say, bro, I sometimes like, wait a minute, what's the day? Oh, damn. Okay, shit, I can go to sleep.
Well, I appreciate your time, man, and your thoughts and opinions and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I'm glad you got us a platform for us to be able to come on here and express our views and go back and forth, agreeing and disagreeing, which is I think
Good too.
that's the part that's I think is really healthy about
and,
discussions.
and hopefully we can teach others to be that way, because I was telling you about the two guys who was watching the show, and he said that was one of the things he liked about the show. He said how y'all can have different views, and kind of argue about it, and still be friends,
Yeah.
and it's like, why, how come that sounds so hard to people to have a different view to somebody and still be a friend with them.
I don't know. To me, that's like insane to think that somebody you can't. Like, I mean, like I don't know, I got plenty of friends that disagree with me, but shit, and I disagree with them. And shit, I still love them. I still care about them, and we're
It's
gonna.
kind of crazy to think that everybody is gonna have the same damn perspective. Like, so
Yeah.
everybody's supposed to agree with you, or they mean if they're your friend, they're supposed to agree with you.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, I guess something because that's something I realized even from an early age. Like, you know, I got two brothers. We was raised up in the same house. All three of us are different. Got the same mom, the same dad, pretty much the same dynamics of relate somewhat different dynamics. But the relationship I have with my mom is different from the relationship my brothers have with my mom. Like how they interact and whatever. So it's like I guess I've seen, like I said, I've seen from an early age how you know yeah, we all come from the same place, and but we all have different views, different relationships within the same household, and it just is what it is. So I mean, maybe that's a part of how I see it this way. Like, is like I don't have to forge some kind of like become enemies with somebody because they don't agree with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, the main thing is that you promote people to think, to help, think for themselves, or maybe offer a different perspective, so that if they decide that that point of view makes more sense than what they were originally
Right.
thinking.
So if you're getting somebody to think for themselves, and that means you're trying to get them to disagree with you, really, because if they're thinking for yourselves, then they're not thinking like you. Therefore, they're going to come to different conclusions on certain things.
Yeah, and I think everybody has different accesses to information. Like, some people believe what they believe because they didn't see what I saw when I drove down the highway today, or
Right.
what I listened to on YouTube yesterday,
Right.
or you know what I'm saying, like all these, and vice versa. Like, I didn't see the mainstream media news show that they saw, or whatever. So people end up with different perspectives because of their access. Mm, and shit, we get a chance to talk about it. And
I think it's a good thing, man. I think it's a good thing. I want to keep it going as long as I can.
Yep.
So, yeah, man, have a good one. Get you some rest, man, and I'm going to wrap it too.
For sure, man.
You got any final comments, Doc? Otherwise,
we out of
peace and
here.
love. I did a couple of pull-ups at the park. I think that was yesterday. I did 5 pull-ups, and I'm all sore. I'm sore all over the place. I'm sore in my shoulders. I'm sore in my core area, my arm, my forearms. But it feels good. Feels good.
Okay.
It means I just need to do some more. I feel strong. I feel like I can punch somebody right now.
All right, now keep your hands to yourself.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for joining. We'll be back tomorrow.
For sure.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.